Chapter 724, Yun Clan Ancestral Home. Chapter 724, Yun Clan Ancestral Home. Proofreader, Papatonks. 10 days later, Zhuofan opened his door to take a deep breath of fresh air. He was in a better mood now that his wounds were healed. What awaited him outside was his team, the 9 disciples and 3 fiends of demon-scheming sect. They had always been waiting for Zhuofan to get better and get home these days. The other sect had already gone, leaving them behind. They came last, and now they were leaving last, though the mood was completely different. They were no longer tense, but jubilant. Zhuofan, you're the only one left. Can we go now? Fiend Yang grinned at Zhuofan. I've sent the sect Ascending Jade already, saying that we'll get back in 2 months, but I have yet to give them the good news. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow and noticed Fiend Yang's rotten smile. You'll be making them sick with worry. Ah, that'll make things more interesting. While we risked our lives here, they've just been casually waiting for the news. That's too easy for them. Fiend Yang winked at Zhuofan. You're going to leave anyway. You should use this chance to get back at those old fools now while you still can. Besides, once we sent them the great news, their towering fury would just fizzle out, right? The others laughed along. Zhuofan shrugged. Fine, I'm leaving anyway, so I'll just take this burden. Take it as my prank. Ah, wonderful. That's our great steward. Fiend Yang patted his shoulder, and the others nodded with soft eyes. They knew their days with Zhuofan were running out. Zhuofan, are you leaving the demon-scheming sect? A girl cried out. Zhuofan turned to see Yongning, who suddenly looked at him in shock. Where are you going? You better give us a clear location, or we won't be able to find you. Zhuofan's eyes softened. You don't have to look for me. Once I finish reporting to the demon-scheming sect, I'll be going home to Tianyu. Really? The girls cheered. Zhuofan nodded. Of course, why else did you think I asked you to wait? Forget mystical heaven sect and come with us. Once I finish over at the sect, we'll be going home together, so you won't meet any trouble on the way. The girls bobbed their heads in elation. With Zhuofan back in the Luo clan, the girls would no longer have to suffer the bitter loneliness of being so far apart, but the fact that Chu Qingsheng couldn't come along made them sad. No one else knew Zhuofan better than her, even though they were love rivals. For her not to be around Zhuofan, they thought it was a great loss. Actually, Chu Qingsheng's graceful stance had moved the girls. If they could all go together, it would be so much better. Now, let's set off. Zhuofan shouted, breaking their thoughts. Seeing them all go, the girls caught up, but then Shuang'er stalled, and her eyes turned black as they reflected the starry sky. Her heart throbbed in her chest, and she was gasping for breath. What's wrong, Shuang? Yongning started, and worried. Zhuofan frowned. Coming over, what happened? I don't know. My heart suddenly became frantic. I'm better now. Shuang'er looked lost as she shook her head. She felt a sudden danger, as if someone was coming for her. But then the feeling went away as quick as it came. Zhuofan looked around the area with a careful gaze before setting his mind at ease. It must be that Shuang'er is unwell. Once we return, she'll be getting better. And so, they left the Double Dragon Manor, unaware that Shuang'er's frantic heart was an omen of the future. Bam! In a forest, a rock covered in moss was pulverized. The sun's bright rays shone down deep in the dark and humid cave, long hidden from the world. 2 panting figures stood before it in joy. Second Prince, we finally found the Yun Clan Ancestral Home. Ha! A mere profound heaven expert, wearing all black, looked at the other in glee, grinning. The youth nodded, clenching the yellow silk tight in his hand. So many years, and now we finally found this accursed place. Big brother, Imperial Father, once I crack the Yun Clan Ancestral Home secret, I will find the best in Western lands and will return the lands to the Yuan clan. I will avenge you. And you, old third, dishonorable pig, your days are at an end. Ha ha ha. The youth cackled like mad, his eyes consumed by hatred. The guy in black sighed, nodding to himself. The lies crowned prince we've had the second prince seek revenge rather than instruct us. He was truly wise. Only hatred can make one seek revenge. These men were crown prince's men. They had no feud with the imperial family or Yuan Kong. After the crown prince's death, all of his loyal men were wanted across the nation. Scurrying like rats for so many years had worn the fight out of them that went double for those who went with the second prince after the Yun clan ancestral home. After the bitter life they had been through the past years, it proved to be too much for most as they left one by one, leaving him all alone. Even so, even he had to beat a hasty retreat against some of the dangers they faced now, thanks to the crown prince beguiling Yu and Yong into exacting revenge. With his help, they finally arrived. This was just another proof of how hatred could drive a person to no end. If it was their mission, they would have long abandoned it. Only the second prince persevered to restore the empire without fail. The guy in black even found himself admiring the second prince. Though the clueless royalty was being played like a puppet on a string looking ahead, the guy in black took the lead. "Your Highness, I'll be scouting ahead. Stay behind me and be careful." "Thank you, Haiying." Second prince nodded. Smiley face, the name is lit. Black Hawk. After years of toil, the second prince finally shed his overconfidence as an imperial prince. Finally showing respect to the wise, the guy in black was touched. "Your Highness, you're too kind. It's my duty. You're too humble. Haiying, without you, I would have never reached here." Being close all their journey, the second prince sighed. "To find the Yun clan ancestral home, we've been through so much danger and lost our way more times than I can count. We have even been trapped again and again. In the end, how many died? How many are left? Now I am alone, with you as my sole companion to share life and death with. From now on, you are my brother." The guy in black shook, touched to the core. He never imagined that the second prince they were ordered to use as a pawn would treat him, so he felt ashamed. He wanted to spill the beans about everything and not let his highness suffer for another's revenge. Everyone had a heart, even the crown prince's die-hard followers. Having spent so many years with the second prince, he had a change of heart. He couldn't bear to see his new master being hurt for following this stupid hatred. But that would mean the crown prince's final wish. "Your Highness," actually, Haiying was conflicted, frowning as he wanted to say something. In his moment of carelessness, he stepped onto something and fell plop. In the darkness, Haiying suddenly vanished, and the second prince cried out, "Haiying!" What followed was him falling as well, and beneath him was nothing but utter blackness, a dark hole swallowing him whole. Chapter 725, Emperor Yun's Fragment. Chapter 725, Emperor Yun's Fragment. Proofreader, Papatonks. Aya. Two sharp yells broke the silent darkness, yet only their own ears could hear them. Second prince and Haiying then looked around, but beyond the eternal darkness there was only more black. "Haiying, can you fly out?" Second prince asked. He shook his head, filled with dread. "No, this cave is just weird, preventing me, a profound heaven expert, from flying. Yet we're still falling. Just when we reach the end, we're finished. With such a deep cave, once we hit the ground, we'll be plastered. My life will return to the heavens." Second prince wailed, filled with resentment. He hadn't gotten revenge yet. How could he die just like that? Haiying sighed, biting back the words that threatened to come out. Though he would die having never fulfilled his revenge, it was a notch better to die for one's ideal. While telling him the truth would mean saying he was a pawn in the hand of a dead crown prince for years now, that would be even more devastating. Letting him go in peace is better. He's been bitter enough these past years already. Haiying sighed. "Your Highness, you've spared no effort these years. Your Highness and crown prince know your devotion and will rest in the underworld." How can he rest? The nation isn't a nation. You and clan's lands are in the hands of another, and I couldn't do anything. Imperial father, big brother, they'll never know rest. Second prince started shedding tears. "It's because I'm too weak to get back the ancestors' lands. It's I who failed in earning imperial father and big brother's deep love." Second prince sobbed, making Haiying shake his head as he waited to meet his doom. This was the only way to repay his two masters' care. However, there was an odd sound, and the two suddenly slowed down before finding themselves afloat in pitch blackness. The two were stunned and looked around. "I am one of the 10 ancient emperors, Emperor Yun's remnant, sent by her to guard my clan. Are you the sons of my clan, coming to pay your respects? A deafening voice rocked their ears, threatening to blow their eardrums. A white image hundreds of meters wide appeared. He looked like an aged immortal. With power and wisdom, he had silvery flowing hair, a white beard, and a deep and profound aura. The entire void was filled with glittering stars the next second. Flowing in a mystical pattern, the two stared agape at the display. Who's he? He's like a god walking on this world, holding everything in his palm. He can't just be a damn human. Skipping over Joie Fan, have they ever seen someone so awesome anywhere on this continent? Even Danqing Shun couldn't hold a candle to this guy Yun clan's ancestral home. Hid such an astonishing expert. I can't frickin' believe it. Emperor Yun frowned. If you're my descendants, you may take refuge with me from any difficulty. If not, trespassers shall be forever buried in my clan's forbidden land to atone for your crimes. What? The two cried out. Only Yun clansmen could come here. If they wanted to live, the two were frantic, with the second prince having no shame as he said, Ancestor, I'm from the Yun clan. I'm Yin Yong. Hei Ying's face twitched, and he sighed. This guy changed his tunes too fast. He even renounced his name. Then again, being chased for so many years, he lost his arrogance as a prince. All he ever cares about is survival, even using a sharp tongue. Ancestor, I'm also from a Yun clan. I'm Yining. Hei Ying cupped his hands. Emperor Yun mocked. It doesn't matter if you say you are. I will be the judge of that. Emperor Yun's eyes shot prismatic lights as it scanned the two. Humph, my Yun clan have mystic eyes that can read the heavens. Yours are normal, and you think you can pretend to be of my clan? After the scan was over, Emperor Yun snorted, Common fools, die for trespassing in the Yun clan's forbidden grounds. The pitch-black world began to burn as stars started falling on the two. Thousands of city-wide bright lights were coming down on them at full force. With so many coming to plaster them, there was no way two puny, profound heaven experts could take it. Not when even ethereal stage experts would have a hard time. The two panicked in fear. Fortunately, the thick and impenetrable skinned second prince grew over these torturous years in search for revenge was finally put to good use. Wait, we are just Yun clan's average clansmen. Only the clan head has awakened those eyes. Wrong. Not just the Yun clan head is able to awaken them. Only a Yun clansman who does is a true Yun clansman. Emperor Yun spat. My blood allows the awakening of a single person in every generation of my clan. That is my successor. Everyone else, even if from a Yun clan, is a stranger. Don't you know that only the clan head can come here? Even as Yun clansmen, you only came to your deaths. Emperor Yun finished just as the incoming starfall was about to pulverize the two home invaders. Second prince gnashed his teeth, and his eyes flashed. He took out Yin Xuanji's eye and said, We've come out of clan head's final wish. This is our proof. Whoosh. The stars halted and soon vanished. Hei Ying closed his eyes and shivered. Second prince's hands shook as well. Waiting to be erased from this world, however, death did not come. He watched as a pair of eyes stared down at the orb in his hand. It's the mystic eye of my Yun clan. But since it's just proof, I can only agree to one request. One. Startled, the two were jubilant. They turned it all around. Emperor Yun switched from being their greatest enemy to their strongest backer. That was just too sudden. Didn't he doubt where this eye came from? Though it worked in their favor. Why look for some Danqing Shun when we have this guy to raise the world? So the second prince bowed and whined. Ancestor, my empire has been taken by an evil spawn. I hope Ancestor will set things right. Help you restore the nation. Emperor Yun quirked an eyebrow. Second prince bobbed his head, and the emperor shook his denied. Why? Didn't you say you'll agree to one request? With your power, this will be as easy as breathing. Second prince complained. Emperor Yun said, I told you, I am Emperor Yun's remnant left by her to protect our clan and show it the path forward. I cannot leave, thus, I cannot help you. What can you do then? Second prince was annoyed and shouted. Hei Ying jerked and hurriedly pulled his hand. Master, don't get carried away. He can't leave. but we're here stuck with him. He's the boss, and you better not anger him. It'll be so easy to kill us like squashing bugs. Second Prince finally came to his senses and cupped his hands. Forgive me, ancestor. I got carried away. I just want to know how you could help us. Read the heavens and show you the way. Ask your questions, and I shall answer all I can. Emperor Yun's heavy words fell. Chapter 726. Back to the Sect. Chapter 726. Back to the Sect. Proofreader, Papatonks. He Ying's eyes lit up and held his hand out, pointing with a trembling finger at the Second Prince's ring, catching his drift. The Second Prince showed a painting. The lands of our nation, Second Prince shouted. Ancestor, please tell me where the best in Western lands, Danqing Shun, is. Can I find him? Emperor Yun's eyes shifted and became like the starry sky. The stars around him were on the move as well, releasing their aura and making the two home invaders step back in fright. Danqing Shun is in the central area. You will find him in the imperial capital of the Sword Star Empire. He will fulfill your wish. The stars halted and silence once again reigned after Emperor Yun spoke gravely, but there was now doubt in his eyes, something the two below were blind to. Second Prince cheered. Ancestor, is it true? Don't call me ancestor. I have read the heavens and know you're not Yin clansman. I also know everything that your clan did. But I am but Emperor Yun's remnant and have to follow the rules. Since you brought the Yin clan's mystic eye, I have shown you the way. Emperor Yun's flat tone came. Second Prince's heart sank, and he was getting nervous. He only breathed easier seeing him still calm. Since he was a remnant, he had no feelings. If Emperor Yun was here, he'd be watching their entrails dripping down the walls after swatting them for trying to con him. Not that his little mind could figure that one out, thinking this big shot was nagging. So he bowed and braced himself. Senior, when will I be able to meet Danqing Shun? That's your second question that I won't answer. You better leave. Eyeing them with a flat look, Emperor Yun flicked his wrist. A gale formed, and the two were blown away and were now kissing the ground in the most unpleasant way. When they finally woke up, they were shocked. Before them was a lofty mountain, with a peak hiding behind the clouds and snow high on its sides. He Ying cried, Your Highness, how did we get here? How are we at the foot of the mountain? We've been climbing for 3 whole years. Second Prince sighed. 3 years of toil as we worked our way through dangers and lost trails. 1,000 died, 1,000 left, leaving only us to carry on. I can't believe that Emperor Yin would take us back down with a flick of his wrist. He's beyond monstrous. He Ying nodded, never imagining one of the 4 pillars had such a freakish backer. If this freak could move, the world would be his oyster, sparing one last long look at the snowy peak. He Ying sighed. So many years, so many deaths. All but for a few words from an old man. This result, that's more than enough. We now have a way to get revenge. Second Prince shouted as he strutted towards the central area. As the Yun clan's ancestor, his prediction must be right. We finally found Danqing Shun and a way to regain our nation. Zhuofan, Luo clan, and the old third, you will all pay for stealing our land. Second Prince could practically see the glory of victory and taste it. He Ying stared at him and followed in silence. Never mind. If revenge is all that's driving him, let him have it. Maybe when he sits on the throne, it won't be too late to tell him. Maybe he'll thank the Crown Prince then for this revenge. That was how these 2 loners walked forward to restore their nation, unaware as they left that Emperor Yun was still hovering in that black space. The doubt in his eyes only increasing. That's odd. His goal is to get revenge on the Luo clan, Zhuofan, and his third brother. But the Luo clan and his brother's destiny are clear. Only Zhuofan's fate is unreadable. Can it be that he lives outside fate? That will make him a huge variable. Emperor Yun sighed and vanished, letting the darkness consume everything in this domain. 2 months later, Zhuofan's team was back before their sect at long last. Xie Weiyue and the elders were waiting for ages. What a grand welcome I see. Fiend Yang laughed, as if basking in their adoration. Yet Xie Weiyue glared back instead. He flashed in his face and stomped bam. The resounding boom sent Fiend Yang flying like a cannonball. The ball of flesh sped through the air and smacked into a cliff, leaving a man-shaped hole in it. The disciples, ready to celebrate with their elders, stood stock still. Did we do something wrong? Why is the sect leader so pissed? Giving them a glare, he was filled with bloodthirst watching the cliff tumble down. Fiend Yang came out of the rubble, barking, "For God's sake! Are you a sect leader or a lunatic? We've risked our lives in the double dragon manner for the sect's glory, and this how you repay me? What did I ever do to you? You got the nerve to ask." Xiao snorted. 2 months ago you sent me a sending jade, telling me that you'll be back in 2 months, not giving me any details as to what happened. You got some nerve, making me unable to sit still all this time. You damn fatso deserve more than just a light kick. The others chuckled. Ah, so that's why it's because of the sending jade that sect leader is pissed. He should know what happened at the Double Dragon gathering, yet was kept in suspense all this time. Fiend Yang grinned. Oh, did I forget to mention it? Bullshit. How can you forget something so big? Even if you forget to write your will, you can never forget this. Xiao Wuyue snorted. Talk. Did we lose so much that we got last place in the lower 3 sects? Is that why you didn't say anything? Yu Ling and the others giggled. They couldn't believe their sect leader had so little faith in them. He's sure to get the shock of his life. The disciples snickered. Fiend Yang was also grinning, though he was still mincing words. What do you think, Wuyue? Think your ass. Xiao Wuyue glared, then turned to Zhuo Fan. But the guy walked into the sect with some 2 girls shouting for 2 laborers. Zhuo Fan pointed at the girls and said, "Settle them in." Yes, Steward Zhuo. The 2 bowed. Zhuo Fan was yet to rule over the demon-scheming sect, but his word was law in the labor office. Above even the elders, the laborers got down to following his orders despite there being a throng of elders and venerables around. Even the sect leader on top, Xiao Yue, was outraged. Zhuo Fan, who said you can bring some foreign girls into the sect? That's against the rules. Just coming and going. Didn't you agree to let him go after all the fighting? Fiend Yang held his shoulder and smiled. Besides, the kid got most of the credit at Double Dragon Gathering. Letting him do whatever before leaving ain't much. Xiao Yue was now interested and turned to face him. How did it go? What do you think? Fiend Yang quirked an eyebrow, starting the posturing all over again. Xiao Yue's face twitched, and he clenched his fists as a scorching fire burned his heart, a volcano ready to pop. Chapter 727, Sect Celebration. Chapter 727, Sect Celebration. Proofreader, Papatonks. Xiao Yue squinted and the anger in his eyes burned hotter. Fatty Yang, better give me that explanation right now, or so help me. I'll make you suffer if you keep showing off, regardless of our friendship. Easy, easy. I'll tell you for sure. Ha. Fiend Yang smiled and whispered in Xiao Yue's ear. Actually, we. What? Xiao Yue was bug-eyed. Say that again. Ha ha ha. I knew you'd make that face. No one would believe our ever-cold demon, scheming sect leader, Xia, lost his cool. Laughing it up, Fiend Yang turned to the oldies, shouting, I'm saying that at the Double Dragon Gathering, we became the top middle 3 sect and brought home 10,000 sacred stones. Are you for real? The oldies were frozen in place, sporting a dumb and incredulous look as they looked at the disciples. The demon-scheming sect was but a lower 3 sect. How the hell did it get to being the top middle 3 sect? This is insane. Venerable Sure, the leader of the inner sect's oldies, was just as stumped. Never in their wildest dreams would they have thought this time's team would come back with any success. Yet they didn't feel like celebrating. Feeling downcast, instead, the Double Dragon Gathering team was made of elite labor office's disciples. It had nothing to do with the inner sect. That meant the labor office would become more valuable and more important now. He bet Xiao Yue would soon use this credit to announce the labor office would receive all resources while his inner sect would crumble. Venerable Sure. One elder spoke with worry. Venerable Sure said nothing as his eyes flashed with a calculative glimmer. No matter, there's fortune in disaster. We still have to play along. However, I must say that Zhuo Fan is incredible. If he weren't the sect leader's man, I would actually admire him. Huh? Glancing at the calm Zhuo Fan, Venerable Sure had a crafty smile. The others looked lost. Why is Venerable Shur praising the enemy when the sect leader is about to throw the inner sect to the curb? Xia Weiyue was out of it for a couple of minutes after Fiend Yang's news. When he came to at long last, he glared and smiled as he grabbed his fat arm. Fatty Yang, is that true? You're not fooling around, are you? Who would joke about something so huge? Fiend Yang grinned as he cursed. Besides, your bug-eyed look at our strong disciples isn't becoming of a top middle three sect. Fiend Yang came to the disciples and put on a smug look, as if they got so strong all because of his dedicated training. Fiend Yin and Fiend Gue shook their heads. Kue Lang's side stuck out their chests, of course, releasing their aura and pride. The others' faces twitched. They could not believe it as they watched the returned disciples with eyes as wide as saucers. They didn't look at it at first, but now they saw it. Just how long has it been? These little guys' strength is unrecognizable. Except for 3 in the 6th layer radiant stage, the other 9 were in the ethereal stage. Just what the hell brought on this miracle? Venerable Qi and Bai were ecstatic. 4 of those 6 were related to them by Lien, and Qi Changlong were their grandchildren, while Yu Ling and Kue Lang were their disciples. In one move, they had 4 extra ethereal stage experts under them. That was sure to make them look good as hell. They were also qualified to work for his faction. Consolidating their position, the labor office's oldies looked at these bright disciples with beaming smiles. Only the intersect faction stood there glum from envy and embarrassment. This kind of credit never happened before. Yet it didn't have a damn thing to do with them. What none noticed was a pair of eyes from Venerable Shur's faction that never looked away from Gue Hu. It was Grand Elder. I was right in making you enter the labor office. You're now far sharper than before. Grand Elder smiled in pride. Hold on. Let's all calm down first. As the crowd became noisier, Fiend Yang started shouting. Everyone settled down and spoke seriously. People, our success at the Double Dragon Gathering, the great improvement of our disciples, are all due to one man. Labor Office's steward, Zhuo Fan. Roar. The oldies went wild again, looking at Zhuo Fan in veneration. Even the angry Xia Weiyue was now filled with joy. He made the best move of his life when he got this kid to the sect for thousands of years and tens of sect leaders. Finally, in his lifetime, the demon scheming sect had become the head middle 3 sect. This merit was monumental. Even the ever-cold Xia Weiyue started smiling, although, in the middle of their excitement, Fiend Yang's tune changed. You should also know that desperate times call for desperate measures. These kids got to improve so much so fast through many deadly perils. Those that hadn't succeeded, well, you can tell what happened to them. Ugh. The rest now realized Fiend Yang's words. To get these guys to grow up fast, Zhuo Fan used life and death to train them brave the danger, and one would become a worldly expert. Fail, and you'd be nothing but bones on the road. But weren't those casualties the babies of some oldies? This hatred was falling right on Zhuo Fan. Fiend Yang said this to show Zhuo Fan's feats. Without him training the other disciples, they wouldn't have gotten their flashy new rank. So he was also telling the oldies not to look for revenge. Your disciples died for the sect. However, while they got his meaning, some were still hit hard by the loss of their precious disciples. Xia turned heavy and said, before setting off, I had appointed Zhuo Fan as my representative bearing my power. His word was my word. If you're looking for revenge, blame me. I have said it already, Double Dragon Gathering is of grave importance to the sect. Not a place where you can but gain some perks. They deserve their fate. But since the success has been so amazing, I'll be generous even to them for all their efforts. Sect leader is brilliant. Fiend Yang shouted and clapped. The oldies' grief had now become a sacrifice to the sect. Though all here knew, even alive, those disciples couldn't do a thing at the gathering. Xiaoyue said this to be fair. As for being generous, how could one be to a dead guy? That benefit would be given to their masters, no? That is, a token to soothe their hard feelings. The oldies were silent. Wasn't it obvious for one to give his life to the sect? So they bowed in respect. Sect leader is brilliant. Zhuo Fan's pesky troubles were now washed away by Fiend Yang's timely intervention. It was the least he could do for Zhuo Fan. He knew the grudges of demonic cultivators. Once he left the sect, he had no one to protect him from those oldies' revenge, so simmering down those flames of hatred before he left was perfect. Zhuofan got his meaning, but didn't care. He only chuckled at Fiend Yang. As thanks for his efforts, less trouble is always better. We'll be holding a sect celebration for having become a middle 3 sect. Even the top 1. We'll hold a feast for 3 days straight. Xie Wuyue saw that all was settled and got excited as he laughed. The rest cheered. Chapter 728, Testing Dangers. Chapter 728, Testing Dangers. Proofreader, Papatonks. I told you, when we fought the head of the 9 sects, Ultimate Clarity Sect, there were many dangers. Besides the best talent in Western lands, Wu Qingqiu, there was also that freaky Lin. TCH, that power was really scary. Even Zhuofan was tense. At that time, I was the most in danger as I told them how to face such a monster. In the main hall, all the elders and venerables attended. Wine flowed freely in these 3 days, and everyone had red faces and hazy looks. Except for the disciples who went on this trip, who were standing at the same table as them. The other disciples were feasting outside. The main hall fiend, Yang finally got to make use of his winding and drawn-out silver tongue as he retold the events of Double Dragon Gathering. The others were amazed. Hold on, Fiend Yang, you said it 5 times already. But didn't you always say that Steward Zhua earned the greatest credit? Why does it sound like he didn't do anything while all the glory was thanks to your brilliant leadership? Is that how you got to the top middle 3 sect? And did Steward Zhua really beat Yi Lin according to your plan? Yeah, Steward Zhua has the greatest credit, but that is one of fighter, while I paved their way to success outside the ring with my plans and cunning. Fiend Yang's eyes darted all over. Still talking big, the disciples snickered, but remained silent. Fiend Yang sure likes to brag. I must admit, he even got them all looking amazed by his speech. Among the avid listeners, some are highly skeptical. How come we never noticed Fiend Yang likes to blow his horn? So they looked to another. Steward Zhua. Is what the fatso said true? Ugh. Zhuofan turned to see Fiend Yang, giving him signals galore while pleading and shaking his head. Zhuofan ignored his nonsense. Sure is. Under Fiend Yang's bright leadership, we finally earned our spot as top middle 3 sect. We wouldn't have made it half as far without him. The rest gave the fatty an incredulous look. This guy's actually that good. He actually got to conduct all the fights. Fiend Yang stuck out his chin in pride. I'm the real hero here. Only the disciples shook their heads and sighed. While the 2 girls sitting across from Zhuofan were giggling to themselves, they've seen shameless, but not to this level, showing off before the whole crowd. But since Zhuofan didn't care, the girls, outsiders, didn't poke holes in the fatty's theatrics. Did Elder Yuan return yet? Zhuofan asked Kuei Lang ever since he came back 3 days ago. He couldn't wait to find Elder Yuan to talk to him about the heart. He really needed an answer to his questions, because Chu Qingcheng was waiting for his response in the mystical heaven sect, yet there was no sign of Elder Yuan around. Some laborers said he's out on sect business. He'd be back in months, or maybe years. Zhuofan shook his head. Years. He could only wait for a couple of months. If he didn't get an answer, he couldn't give her a reply. He didn't know if Elder Yuan would even answer him. But he was the only one he knew that could cupping his hands. Kuei Lang spoke. Steward Zhua, I just heard that Elder Yuan still isn't back. It's fine. While I wait for Elder Yuan, I'll have a talk with Xie Wuyue. Zhuofan sighed and walked out, seeing him leave. They knew he was going to the sect leader for his freedom. They all sighed. Only the girls were cheerful, eager to have Zhuofan back. Yoning was crafty in this. Now she would take the credit before Luo Yunchang that she got Zhuofan home. We'll see if Miss Luo will be able to compete with me. Knock. Zhuofan went to sect leader's home and saw Xie Wuyue smiling. He looked at the green storage ring with a lost gaze, sometimes chuckling. He woke up when he heard the knocking. Xie Wuyue was startled to see Zhuofan outside his door and frowned. Zhuofan, you've done great in the Double Dragon Gathering. What are you doing here instead of celebrating? Visiting a miser. He took a seat before him like he owned the place, and Zhuofan pointed at the ring. 10,000 sacred stones has you looking so dumb. Xie Wuyue was ticked off. Just 10,000? Ha ha ha. You're talking as if you got more, just 2,000. You heard that. Fiend Yang likes to talk too much, so I had Fiend Ian report instead. Xiaoyue sighed and nodded. You're really something, kid, to get even the exalted to look at you, even making a special rank just for you and getting 2,000 sacred stones. Even if I don't officially make you the next sect leader successor, the entire sect would not sit still until they know it's you who will be sitting in my chair. Xiaoyue stared hard at Zhuo Fan, but he had no reaction. Xiaoyue, we talked about this. After the Double Dragon gathering, our deal is done. Going home. Xiaoyue's brow shook, his heart unsettled as he showed a sneaky smile. To what, the Luo clan? You mean to tell me demon, scheming sect can't compare to a measly mortal clan? Ha ha ha. Having come back with so much merit, you will be the next sect leader after me. With the sacred stones, in a century, we'll become a true middle three sect. A tiny mortal clan would mean even less than. You will be king here. Now you're telling me being stuck as a butler for the Luo clan is way better? Zhuo Fan gave him a long look. Where I like to go is my business. No one can change that. You better not break your word. Sect leader Xia. Xiaoyue said nothing, but his sharp eyes stabbed into him like daggers, but then he shrugged. Actually, letting you stay was thinking of your future. After being on Double Dragon Manor's list, you'd be going even higher. You might even be at the top of the Western Lands. But since you're set on leaving, I won't stop you. Xiaoyue waved him off, looking disappointed as he sighed. People always work to better themselves. Yet I never saw someone so complacent like you. Zhuo Fan, you'll be sure to regret it. That's none of your concern. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes and walked out. Just as he left, Xiaoyue muttered to himself. Ha ha, he left at last. The sect isn't big enough for the both of us. Sigh. Zhuo Fan, if you had shown the slightest interest in my position, Xiaoyue's eyes flashed with bloodthirst. Back at the feast, Zhuo Fan looked at the girls. Get ready. We'll leave right after the feast. So soon. Kuei Lang and the others were stunned. Zhuo Fan nodded. Xiaoyue was good at covering up his intent, but he was more than familiar with that kind of baiting. He was paying attention to every last word Xiaoyue said, and every meaning they had told him to leave, to not aim for the sect leader's position. He believed that if he showed the slightest interest in the chair, Xiaoyue would have went for the kill. He didn't know Xiaoyue's cultivation, and since this was the demon scheming sect, Xiaoyue ruled. Once a fight broke out, Zhuo Fan was at a disadvantage, so he honored his own word and left. As for Elder Yuan, Zhuo Fan frowned. Kuei Lang, though I'm leaving and no longer the demon scheming sect, I hope you could do something for me. Just say the word, Steward Zhua. Kuei Lang cupped his hands. When Elder Yuan returns, stall him, then send me a jade slip. I'll be here before you know it. No problem, Steward Zhua. Kuei Lang nodded. Zhuo Fan stood up and left with the girls. But just then, a laborer rushed into the main hall. Halt. This is the Elder's feast. Disciples can't enter. One attendant barred his way. The guy shouted, I've come to give a message to Steward Zhua. Elder Yuan is back. Zhuo Fan shook and frowned. Then he brightened up just in time. Chapter 729, Advice. Chapter 729, Advice. Proofreader, Papatonks. Elder Yuan. Shouts were heard in the rundown area of the labor office as Zhuo Fan rushed to a shabby door. The door opened with a creak as a familiar figure greeted him. Elder Yuan sighed and patted his chest. Oh, so it's Steward Zhua. What's got you so anxious? You're scaring this old man. I thought I missed giving out Wang Irma's pill. It's not that I didn't want to give him, but he did a poor job on his errands, and the executive punished him. Elder Yuan. Zhuo Fan cut him off and rolled his eyes. Elder Yuan scratched his head. Oh, right, Steward Zhua is a man of ambition and has no time for trifles. Oh, I almost forgot. I heard that Steward Zhua earned great credit in the Double Dragon gathering. You should be out there celebrating and not run here. Elder Yuan. I'm leaving. Zhuo Fan interrupted him off again, startled. Elder Yuan said, Leaving? Where? Home. Zhuo Fan sighed. I already talked with Xiaoyue. I have done my part, and the demon scheming sect is now a middle three sect. He also let me go. Is that so? Elder Yuan closed his eyes and sighed in disappointment. He still Elder Yuan, I hope to say my goodbye to you before I leave. You're the only one I respect in this sect, and the only one that understands me. Zhuofan looked at Elder Yuan's dark face and sighed. Also, I wanted to ask you an important question. I fear that only you can give me a good answer. Elder Yuan opened his eyes and smiled. He was no longer sad and was back to his kind self. Tell me then. If I can help steward Zhua, then it's my honor. Elder Yuan is too nice. Zhuofan bowed slightly and was a bit tense as he began. Elder Yuan, can demonic cultivators know love? Elder Yuan was stumped for a second. Why love? You mean familial, friendship, or? The last one, Zhuofan blushed. Elder Yuan shook his head. A love between a man and a woman is of course not possible. It's very dangerous. Why else do you think the demon scheming sect forbids it? I see. Zhuofan felt disappointed and sighed. But then hope rekindled in his eyes. But someone said that how can you be emotionless if you never knew emotion? You must feel it before you can squash it. Who told you that? Dan Xing Shun. Ah, so it was him. Elder Yuan shook his head. He is the best in Western lands, but he is a righteous cultivator, unable to comprehend our demonic heart. Zhuofan's heart sank because Elder Yuan had clearly shot down this theory. It would seem that his final answer to Chu Qingsheng would be a negative one, but the old man laughed before he got too disappointed. The expert was right, though. No wonder he is the best in Western lands. He's gone far. Zhuofan's face twitched. After being thrown in despair, he was brought back up. Elder Yuan, can you not toy with me? I'm serious here. Aha, but I'm not. It's you who toys with yourself. Since you already have your answer within you, why ask me? Elder Yuan teased. Steward Zhua, do you want me to say that there's no harm to your demonic path by feeling love? Zhuofan tensed and bowed. Elder Yuan is wise. My heart is treacherous, and I ask Elder Yuan to be the judge. An outside perspective sees much more. If this love will harm my path, then I will squash it. Elder Yuan's mocked Zhuofan hesitated, but nodded. Elder Yuan sighed. If some youngster came at me with this question, I'd have answered on the spot. That love is taboo for demonic cultivators. Touching it will mean endless pain and torture from which one can't escape. The demonic path is cruel and emotionless, and any feelings are its bane. But to you, Steward Zhua, I offer you one piece of advice. Let yourself go and accept it. Why? Zhuofan was stunned. Elder Yuan shook his head. Because you're already caught in its grip. Instead of breaking it, take it all if you don't want to have a heart demon. Zhuofan's brow shook in shock. Do you know why we, demonic cultivators, warn never to feel love? Elder Yuan asked Zhuofan. Zhuofan shook his head. Lost? Ha ha ha. I don't know either. But after years of pondering, I think I have an inkling. It's not that demonic cultivators can't feel love, but it's better reserved for those advanced players to tackle. Zhuofan was stumped. Elder Yuan continued. At the birth of the world, the righteous and demonic paths came to be. As the human heart has desire, it leads to two different ways to cultivate. The righteous path abolishes desire, to be one with the world, unshackled by any greed. While the demonic path is the opposite, experiencing endless desire through which to break the mortal coil and reach the Tao. In other words, righteous means to be above everything, while demonic implies sinking into it. This shows that the paths are neither good nor evil, but once you enter them, it's easy for desires to be born and end up at their mercy. This is a demon. By overcoming it, you reach Tao. So the demonic path means passing through the demon state to reach Tao. What we want to do in the end is to attain Tao. Because it's easy to be constantly tempted along our cultivation journey, we end up being demonic and earn such a bad name. But all those that achieve success in the demonic path are not demons, and certainly won't be like those four scheming demons, pillaging and killing at a whim, because they had gone beyond in their path and have come closer to Tao. Zhuofan nodded as he understood it. He used to think the demonic path implied selfishness, but now he saw it was just prejudice. By becoming a demon and rising above greed, could one reach the Tao. Zhuofan finally saw the path wide open before him. As for love, it's nothing by itself, but it's the most tempting desire from which escape is nigh impossible. Many demonic cultivators have been unable to distinguish love from desire and sink further and further, moving away from the Tao. That is why demonic cultivators are so ruthless when it comes to love, not getting anywhere near it. This is because it's hard for anyone to come back from it. To righteous cultivators, this is easier. They walk the path of abandoning all desire, neutralizing the desire, and keeping them safe. Elder Yuan continued, "But you must understand, nothing ventured, nothing gained. The world is cruel, but also fair. The demonic path is filled with more pain than the righteous path. So when all these trials are overcome, the demonic cultivator would attain a higher level than a righteous cultivator." Zhuo Fan nodded. "In other words, love isn't scary as long as I don't let it take me." "Ha, that's besides the point right now, since you're already in it." Elder Yuan pointed at his heart. "Do you know what a demonic cultivator's greatest heart demon is? Regret. Since you're already taken by love, if you don't settle it, it will turn into regret and will be much worse. As to how you are to escape the maelstrom of love, that will be up to you alone. That's why I said that it is for advanced players only. A child has no place toying with it. But I believe you're the exception. I hope that even if you're taken over by love, you will be able to see your path and not be like Dan Xing Shun, almost collapsing because of it, consumed by revenge. Though he's also amazing, getting back on his path in the end." Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan nodded and bowed. "Thank you for everything, Elder Yuan. I know what to do now. I can finally give her an answer. I feel so much better." "Ha. I'm only speaking what your heart tells you. It might not be the truth. While there's a demonic and righteous path, the world has thousands of other trails. Who is to say that yours is the right one? That's why it's all up to you to do what you feel is right." Elder Yuan spoke heavily. "Steward Zhuo, your heart already had an answer, but was conflicted under the traditional beliefs. That's why you came to me. But the closer you are to Tao, the fewer people there are understanding it. There will come a time when no one can explain it to you. You will only have yourself to believe in. My past experiences might not be the right path. You will know it when you walk your own road." "Star-led," Zhuo Fan bowed again and said, "I will take it to heart." Zhuo Fan left afterward. His next goal was mystical heaven sect. Seeing his light steps, Elder Yuan nodded and sighed. "The child has his own road, but why do you keep losing yours?" Chapter 730. Help. Chapter 730. Help. Proofreader, Papatonks. "Master, is it really impossible? Damn miscreant. Have you already forgotten that pain? Didn't that girl hurt you enough? No matter how much merit you've done for the sect, rules are rules. Sect leader won't budge in this matter, so just give a rest. And don't even think about going to him with this, or you'll only make it worse. That time, even I can't save you." Zhuo Fan's heart was free, unshackled and light. He felt so carefree as he walked, eager to get to the mystical heaven sect. But then his ear picked up two familiar voices that caught his attention. Venerable Qi and Kuei Lang, even puzzled. Zhuo Fan would hardly ever but in someone's problems, but today he was in such a good mood, he walked right over. "What's wrong? Why are master and disciple arguing?" "Oh, Steward Zhuo." Kuei Lang immediately bowed, and Venerable Qi nodded in respect. This brat only knows how to cause trouble. He got a bit of merit, and it got to his head. He even forgot the last transgression that got him kicked into the labor office. Kuei Lang looked ashamed and lowered his head. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. "Just what happened? Can I hear it?" Kuei Lang hesitated before giving Zhuo Fan a glance. "Steward Zhuo, you know already. It's my girl." "Oh, because of you she's been detained in the mystical heaven sect? That's why Xian Xiaoyu threatened you in the Double Dragon Gathering." Zhuo Fan exclaimed. Venerable Qi's eyelid twitched, and he glared at Kuei Lang. "You actually gave up for an enemy in the Double Dragon Gathering? This is absurd. If the sect leader finds out, you'd be lucky to keep your life." Sigh, "Damn vixens." Venerable Qi stomped in anger. Zhuo Fan waved his hand with a smile. "Venerable Qi, there's no need for anger. Only the three of us know this. Besides, I'm also about to leave anyway." Thank you so much, Steward Joie. Venerable Qi gave a deep bow, then glared at Kuei Lang. Making him feel even more guilty, however, he still clung to one last thread of hope. Didn't we earn a great merit? Sect leader is cheerful as well. I think using this chance to ask him to use the demon scheming sect's glorious name to ask the mystical heaven sect to get my girl back. Bullshit, Venerable Qi snapped. The demon scheming sect is against fraternizing. And you even expect he'd lower himself to the mystical heaven sect for a mere disciple like you? We'd be lucky if the mystical heaven sect wouldn't take advantage of our weakness and just let her go. But even so, our sect would have lost its name because of it. Venerable Qi's torrent of words smashed into Kuei Lang's ears, causing him to lose hope. And yet, he still looked at Zhuofan with a fixed gaze his master couldn't help him. So now it was up to Zhuofan if he was willing to pass it on to the sect leader, even if a mere disciple. Zhuofan was the sect leader's confidant. Having gotten such a glorious win at the Double Dragon Gathering, putting the sect in the top middle 3 sects, the sect leader might hear him out when not even elders or venerables could get his ears. Zhuofan frowned, rubbing his chin. Your master's right. Let it go, or you'll only make it worse. Xiao Wuyue doesn't care about anyone. He won't help you at all. In fact, he would fly into a rage and punish you. You're better off not mentioning it. Venerable Qi nodded like it was obvious, glaring at his disciple. See that? Even Steward Zhua said it. Kuei Lang's face fell in despair. Although, Zhuofan switched topics with a crafty smile. Getting someone out isn't necessarily done using the sect's name. I'm just about to go to Mystical Heaven Sect and fetch someone. You could just come along. Ugh. The two gave him dumb looks. Then Venerable Qi gasped, Steward Zhua. Ha, if I won't do it, who else will? Zhuofan smiled as he looked above. I've been absorbed with the demonic path for years and have discovered many truths. That should make me a somewhat advanced player. No matter how deep you sink into the sea of desire, I shall not fear. The two looked lost at him. Zhuofan turned to Kuei Lang and said, What are you staring at? Come on. Mystical Heaven Sect have been a lower 3 sect for all these years and shouldn't have many sacred stones. I'll use the 2,000 on me to smash their face in and get those girls. One for you and one for me. Zhuofan started walking towards the gate. Kuei Lang came out of it at some point and rushed after him. Steward Zhua, why you're really going to give your sacred stones for my girl? Of course. Sacred stones are just invaluable things compared to people. As Steward Zhua, you're truly kind. I'll never forget this for as long as I live. No matter what happens, I will do anything you ask. Lighten up. We're just 2 guys bearing the same trouble. Though, there may be a use of you yet. Who knows? Ha. Zhuofan and Kuei Lang chuckled in the distance, leaving Venerable Qi dumbstruck. 2,000 sacred stones over 2 girls? This is such a waste. Their sect had at most 1,000 of those glittering baubles that had to last the sect for centuries. Yet now this Steward Zhua was going to squander twice that on some broads. Venerable Qi looked ahead as his face twitched and heart bled. No matter how loaded you are, you can't just throw it all away. Sigh, how can a nouveau riche understand the pain of poverty? Venerable Qi shook his head, unable to make sense of Zhuofan's actions, but also envious and admired him. Zhuofan was spending so much for his girl and was going to do the same for Kuei Lang. Such a nice boss was a rarity in this world. It's Kuei Lang's fortune to land such a boss. While theirs, Xiaoyue was stingy to the core, fighting for every scrap. He had no idea, though, that those 2,000 rocks were a drop in a bucket for Zhuofan, while a life fortune to Xiaoyue, putting them side by side. One could see how one spent. Zhuofan, can we go now? At the demon scheming sect's entrance, Shuang'er and Yongning were waiting for him. Yongning asked, Brother Kuei Lang, you're coming along? Kuei Lang had a bright smile, but it was Zhuofan who said, No, he will only accompany us to Mystical Heaven Sect. Mystical Heaven Sect. We're going to get Qin Sheng and then go home together. Zhuofan had a wide smile on his face. The girl's heart skipped a beat, but then smiled. Shuang'er found Zhuofan's look even more enchanting. No wonder I found your attitude off. You're no longer as depressed as before. So you have your answer for Sister Qingcheng. I've dragged out this question for far too long. Zhuofan sighed. The girls nodded. Finally able to rest their intentions and be happy for him, the four were now on the road to mystical heaven sect. Since Zhuofan said he'd answer Chu Qingcheng half a year later, they were in no rush. In fact, Zhuofan was actually dragging his feet, as if nervous this question had been on hold for almost a decade. How would he answer? How would she react? How would I react? These were all pressing questions to Zhuofan suddenly. Zhuofan felt as if he was like a tense bride before her wedding. The girls giggled, the high and mighty steward Zhuo box when it comes to talking about relationships. The team had gone like this for a month, yet they were only a third of the way to mystical heaven sect. Even Schwanger was starting to dislike this and pouted. We're not here to sightsee. If we go any slower, you'll miss your due date with Sister Qingcheng. Really? Zhuofan let out a dry laugh. But how am I to answer her? All these years I've been so cold. Whoosh! A red figure came smashing down 100 meters from them. Kicking up a cloud of dust, the group was stunned to see mystical heaven sect's Danner, Chu Qingcheng's junior sister, as he was going to Chu Qingcheng. Zhuofan had to mind her junior sister. No? So he rushed over to help her up. Danner, what's wrong? What happened? Zhuofan. Danner looked in joy, then said, Why you have to save Sister Qingcheng? Chapter 731. Qingcheng's Danger. Chapter 731. Qingcheng's Danger. Proofreader, Papatonks. What happened to Qingcheng? Zhuofan hurriedly shook Danner's frail body, panting. Danner teared up. And Sister Roa, Zhuofan hardened. I don't care about them. Tell me now, what happened to Qingcheng? Zhuofan was sweating as he stared down Danner until she was scared. Steward Zhuo, let her speak. You're scaring the poor child. Kuei Lang spoke and said to Danner, Little girl, tell us what happened. We'll definitely help. Danner looked at them and finally said, sect leader wanted us 5 sisters to cure the young master's illness. What? Zhuofan's face fell and gnashed his teeth. I knew the punk was born a cripple with lacking elements, but now I see even his brain is screwed on wrong. He dares to touch my girl. Sensing the seething hatred seeping from Zhuofan, Danner was in shock from fear. Yet for some reason, his towering bloodthirst gave her a sense of safety. Kuei Lang patted Zhuofan's shoulder to cool him down. Just what happened exactly? Please tell us everything so we can save them. Well, Double Dragon Gathering nodded and began. After the Double Dragon Gathering, we got back to the sect. The day barely ended, and some elders came to us in the dead of night to seal some of my sister's cultivation, then put them in a room with the sect leader and the young master. That was when we knew that the 4-element cycle array was all to heal the young master's illness for lacking elements. The only reason we went to Double Dragon Gathering was to test the limits of the 4-element cycle array, whether it fit the bill. Only in a life and death battle would the power of this array be brought out. The elder found it eligible, so they took our sisters to cure the young master. Schwanger hurriedly asked, Cure how? The 4-element cycle array relies on maidens with elemental constitutions to draw out their power and purify the young master's body to rebuild his elemental balance. Finally, Danner blushed as she spoke in a lower tone, using a maiden's blood to draw out the 5 elements and completely cure the young master. Bam! Zhuofan's hand pulverized a rock nearby. In other words, the perverted young master wants Qingcheng's body. Not just that. Wiping her tears, Danner sobbed. It would be fine if it were just curing young master, since we were dedicated to this, and we've also seen young master grow up. Bearing some sacrifices to save him was acceptable to us, but I never thought. What? They all asked. Danner's sobbing grew louder. Young master actually sucked out all of Sister Qing'er's spirit and soul. He was so scary. Qing'er became a dried husk, and even sect leader looked shocked. This is a demonic art of stealing Yin to further Yang. The punk has turned demonic. Zhuofan's brow shook, his teeth clenched. I fear that ever since that little town he's been like this, ever since Yin Mo drew him to the demonic path. But Yin Mo is a demonic cultivator, and he's used in this matter. Unlike Xian Xiaoyu, who has no restraint being so new to it all. So that's why. It's all Yin Mo's fault. Shut it. Seeing Danner sobbing, Zhua Fan glared at her. The righteous path means to be above everything, to be an ascetic. One shouldn't fall prey to the demonic nature so easily. Yet desire has taken hold of his heart, and it was just a matter of time before he fell. Yin Mo was only a trigger. It was his twisted heart who was tested in the end, and it was found lacking. Now whose fault was it? Danner's heart shook and closed her eyes in silence. Zhua Fan frowned and sighed. How are the girls? And how did you get out? Sister Qing Sheng seemed to have seen this coming and was prepared. She held a poison pill in her mouth. The moment they force her, she would take it. She said she had an agreement with you 6 months later. If you weren't there after this time, she would do what the sect leader asked. If you arrived and gave her an answer, she would be able to rest in peace. And she's also protecting the others. Danner sobbed. Then we had our cultivation sealed, but we could still move. Sister Qing Sheng seemed prepared since one day she took us to the permafrost cave. There was senior Sister Han chinning in a wall there, and she broke through it to unseal our cultivation. We killed our way out afterward, but the elders blocked us. Only I managed to escape while the others got caught. What chinning? Kuei-Lang cried out. Danner looked at him and nodded. Sect leader Qianying was the previous wielder of permafrost. She should have been one of the girls in the 4-element cycle array, but after hearing of her sect rule violation 2 decades ago for colluding with demonic cultivators, she was cast out. Why else would the sect throw away such a rare water constitution like hers? In the end, the sect leader had looked high and low for a replacement, thus coming with Sister Qingsheng. Qianying, Kuei-Lang's eyebrow shook. How is she? Danner shook her head. I don't know. After I got away, they were caught. But I believe Sister Qianying knew what was going on, so that must be why Sister Qingsheng was prepared. After all, Sister Qingsheng had been in contact with Sister Qianying ever since she came to the sect and inherited permafrost. Closing his eyes, Kuei-Lang shook all over, gnashing his teeth and showing his deep worry paw. Zhua Fan slammed his heavy hand on his shoulder. Kuei-Lang started and looked at Zhua Fan's dark and scary face. Is Han Qianying your girl? Zhua Fan squinted. Don't worry, Qingsheng is smart. Since she can save one person, she can save many. In any case, without your girl, I would now probably be late to the rescue. I alone have no chance of getting 2 girls out. But now, since there's still time before the appointment, it's enough to send a team in and take down Mystical Heaven sect. Kuei-Lang shuddered and looked at Zhua Fan in amazement. Danner was also shaken up. Mystical Heaven sect was one of the 9 sects in Western lands. While conflicts between them existed, an all-out war was out of the question. Not when it would draw Double Dragon Manor's attention. No one was about to take such a blame. Yet Zhua Fan, in a fit of anger, didn't care about these things. Even if the consequences would be dire, that would be then. If he did not do this, he would regret it for as long as he lived. Zhua Fan was seeping with bloodthirst, shocking everyone around him. Danner was even more dazzled by his aura. This guy's insane, but also a mover and a shaker. Whoosh! 2 elderly in white flashed before the group. In the 4th layer of ethereal stage, it's Elder Li and Elder Chong. Danner cried out in fear. The elders showed mocking smiles. Seeing Kuei-Lang was the strongest at 2nd layer of ethereal stage, they thought they were easy pickings. Danner, you dumb girl, did you really think you could escape Mystical Heaven sect? Bam! One elder looked at her with contempt. Yet he did not finish, as the sky was filled with blood. Gone was his presence. As was his irritating voice. In his place was a huge scarlet dragon, Zhua Fan's almighty Scarlet Dragon King. Its sharp claw clenched the tenderized flesh, spreading the bloody smell as it squirted. What blood it had left on that dragon was Zhua Fan and his cold, dead eyes. In a singular strike, he wiped a 4th layer ethereal stage expert off the face of this world, destroyed in body and soul. The other elder was close to having a mental breakdown. Danner was standing there in shock at Zhua Fan's action. She knew Zhua Fan was strong, but she didn't think he would let anger take him to the point he would not let the others even speak. Only showed how much Chu Qingqing's plight grated on his nerves. Heaven Dragon Soul, almighty Scarlet Dragon King. The elder looked on in shock, shaking all over. why you were the one young master talked about. The freak at the Double Dragon Gathering, demon scheming sex Zhuofan. Smirking, Zhuofan mocked. Right in one guess, though I have no prize for you. Bam! With another loud noise, the almighty Scarlet Dragon King's other claw slammed down, crushing him before he even got a chance to wail. His guts and everything sprayed all over the place. Chapter 732, Charisma. Chapter 732, Charisma. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. With the two pursuing mystical heaven sect elders dealt with, Zhuofan took back his soul and used a sacred stone to set up an instant concealing array around the group hum. In a blink, all of them vanished from sight. You guys wait here and don't move. I'm going back to the sect for help. Zhuofan gave them a quick look, then left. Kuei Lang suddenly said, Steward Zhua, sect leader will never agree to go to war with mystical heaven sect. It's of no consequence. I will bring our people. Squinting, his eyes flashed. Zhuofan's heart had a plan in motion as he flew for the demon's scheming sect. Kuei Lang, I'll leave the girls in your care. Don't worry, Steward Zhua. I will do my duty. Kuei Lang cupped his hands, sighing inside. Steward Zhua, please find a way to get Miss Chu and my girl. It's all up to you now. Whoosh. Half a month later, Zhuofan was back in demon scheming sect. With a sign, the space warped to show an entrance halt. Who goes there? One disciple popped before Zhuofan, but upon recognition, he jerked back and apologized. Ah, Steward Zhua is back. Forgive my rudeness. It's fine. Zhuofan waved him off. The disciple scratched his head. Thank you, Steward Zhua. That brat kept saying Steward Zhua has left the sect and won't be coming back. It made me so sad these past 2 weeks. Aren't you back now? Ha. You really missed me? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. The disciple instantly nodded. Of course, it's all thanks to Steward Zhua that we laborers no longer live as cattle. You brought us hope for tomorrow. Although now it's different, and I don't have the strength to enter Steward Zhua's elite labor office. At the very least, I have a future now. I will definitely join next year. Ha. Good for you. Zhuofan patted his shoulder with a smile. How many others share your thoughts? Startled, the disciple was still honest. Steward Zhua, all of the labor office is immensely grateful for all that you've done for us. All those inner and outer disciples that entered elite labor have gained a lot from it. I believe that most disciples and elders hold Steward Zhua in favor for doing so much for the sect. There's still some left. They're likely inner sect elders, trustees. They must be hating your guts. Ha. The two burst out laughing. Zhuofan nodded and turned serious. Then, how many of you are willing to help me with something? Steward Zhua, you need but say it and we'll brave any dangers. The guy cupped his hands. Good. Is sect leader around? Zhuofan nodded and plodded as he walked for the inner sect. Ha. Steward Zhua, this is because of your feats. The guy sighed. Sect leader has been very busy lately and has no time to stay at the sect. Ever since you shone at the Double Dragon Gathering, many empires want to throw their lot with us. They even want us to move in with them, something only the superior 3 sects can do. Sect leader has been so happy these days, always moving from one empire to another for talks. Zhuofan shook and turned his head back with a devious smile. So, sect leader isn't home? That is the case. The disciple gave a numb nod, grinning wider. Zhuofan laughed. Perfect, this makes it easier. Zhuofan strutted forward for the inner gate, leaving the disciple scratching his head. Steward Zhua is acting strange. Dang. A bell toll was heard throughout the sect. All elders and venerables jerked at the sound, rushing for the main hall. For God's sake, who the hell is the fool to mess with the bell and call for a meeting? The Double Dragon Gathering is over, and it's only been 2 days since last time. What's so important this time? One elder grumbled as he dragged himself over to the hall. A venerable came to him and mocked. Are you stupid? The sect leader isn't around. Only the High Venerable has the right to toll. But he has always been a simple man and never used the bell. Though there is one with the nerve to do it. Venerable? Sure. The elder's mouth twitched. Their inner faction had been losing all the time. We, from the elite labor, are twice as many as them. Yet he still has the never to make a fuss? Is he after a power play now that sect leader isn't here? The Venerable shrugged. Who knows? Ha ha ha. One thing's for sure. He doesn't have the strength. All oldies were going towards the main hall, filled with doubt. Venerable sure frowned in his home. Next to him was his prized disciple, Lucia. Lucia. Did you make contact with him? Venerable sure muttered. Lucia spoke in earnest. Master, they have all agreed and await something to happen here. What can happen when they all run off? Venerable sure mocked. It looks like there are still people out there unconcerned by fame and fortune, shirking off their merits. Juefan, that's mighty noble of you, leaving after your big win. Do you not care about your career? Or is it that you sense the danger around you and made the logical choice? Venerable Shure's eyes shone as he sighed. He had been waiting for the moment to act for so long it made him depressed. Lucia was also helpless. Juefan has always been unexpected and unpredictable. Dang! The clear sound of a bell echoed out in the courtyard. Venerable Shure raised an eyebrow and looked at the inner sect with a frown. That twerp Siavua isn't home, so who dare toll the main hall's bell instead of me? Venerable Shure's eyes shone. Maybe this is the chance we've all been waiting for. The two rushed over in the main hall. There was now a sea of people. All elders and venerables had gathered, all looking stumped at the man in center. He told the bell, "Elders and venerables of demon-scheming sect, have all of you come?" Juefan looked at them with a cold eye. They all started, with Venerable by looking at Juefan curiously. "Steward Jua, what is this?" Only the sect leader and High Venerable can toll the inner sect bell. Though there had been some using it without permission in the past, you're still a disciple. If you need us to do something, you could have just asked and not made a scene. Venerable Bai, who are you talking about here? One elder of Venerable Shure's faction barked. High Venerable hardly interferes in sect matters and goes where he wants. For Venerable Shure to come forward is only natural. What's wrong in him tolling the bell? Isn't it above his status still? What's hard to understand, he schemes for power. Venerable Bai mocked. The other elder was enraged. Juefan held out a bright badge, with Sierra written on it. Is this authority enough? Sect leader's badge? The oldie shook and bowed. Greetings, sect leader. Juefan was akin to Xia Wuyue holding that badge, since Xia Wuyue wasn't home. It left Juefan room to weasel in. Elders and venerables of the demon-scheming sect must obey sect leader's orders. They all bowed, and none dared refute him, Juefan shouted. Demon-scheming sect's elders and venerables will now listen to my commands, or they will be punished by sect rules. Yes, sir. The crowd bowed again. The entire sect is to come with me to Mystical Heaven Sect. What? They all looked at him in shock. He wanted everyone to go to Mystical Heaven Sect? What for? That would leave their sect empty and would cause God knew what by going into another sect's turf. Everyone was hesitating. Is this sect leader's true intention? Even Venerable Chi and Bai, people on Juefan's side, were looking lost. Only one person looked joyfully at Juefan on the highest chair, Venerable Shure. Hey, Juefan, you're back at last. The bigger the noise you make, the better. Allow this old man to lend you a hand as well. Venerable Shure grinned like a winner. Chapter 733. All the King's Men. Chapter 733. All the King's Men. Proofreader, Papatonks. What's going on here? Who tolled the bell? Acting like he just showed up, Venerable Shure looked tense as he walked in front, seeing his elders were also here. One came before him and pointed at Juefan. Venerable Shure, Juefan holds the sect leader badge and rang the bell, convening this meeting. Now he wants everyone in the sect to march for Mystical Heaven Sect. What? Venerable Shure looked deeply at Juefan, then at the badge. Juefan gave him a cold look. He knew that Venerable Shure was the boss of the inner sect. Even though Xia Wuyue was the sect leader, he was still being contradicted in cases, which made it even harder just by having his badge in this case. If he was blocked, he would just have to set Venerable Shure as an example for the rest of them. Juefan's eyes flashed with bloodthirst, while the oldies looked at his defiant gaze with mockery. You're just a mere disciple with a bit of merit to your name. Even if you're sect leader's right hand, Not even sect leader himself would be able to do what he wanted if Venerable Shur was against it. Wanting to use some piece of wood to cower us? You don't know the power of the inner sect by the looks of it. Venerable Chi and the others from the labor office watched while calculating gains and losses. If Zhuofan was going against Venerable Shur, they would side with him. Although Zhuofan's order was casual, it had deep implications and should be treated with care. But he had sect leader's badge and was also labor office's representative, be it in a vie for power in an empire or the clashes between sects. It always came down to following the one that adhered to their goals. Zhuofan was the rock of the labor office. So no matter how ridiculous his request was, they would back him up. This was a fight for interest. The hall was split in two groups on the spot, glaring at each other as they were on the brink of war, plunging the sect into a bitter fight. However, Venerable Shur's action left everyone shocked. Both factions stared at him in stupefaction, bowing before the badge. Venerable Shur spoke with utmost respect. "Greetings, sect leader. I obey your order." Venerable Shur. His faction looked at him lost. The same for labor office's side. What's with Venerable Shur all of a sudden? Why did he cave so soon when he always fought tooth and nail with sect leader? Is Zhuofan's aura so grand that it shook him? Everyone's mind was thrown for a loop at the sudden development glaring at them. Venerable Shur spoke earnestly. "Impudent. Zhuofan carries a sect leader's badge, which makes him the highest power beneath sect leader. His words are sect leaders. How dare you defy his orders?" "We won't." They all hung their head. Zhuofan and Venerable Chi's side were filled with doubt. Did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed this morning? Ignoring their puzzled gazes, Venerable Shur smiled. "Ha ha ha. Since this is sect leader's will, we can only follow it. Only, we can't leave the sect empty. May I leave a few inner sect elders and disciple to defend it, Steward Zhua?" Eyeing him, Zhuofan nodded. He didn't want to take in the first place. Only labor office's elders, or if they came as well, it might spell trouble at the worst moment, though Venerable Shur's attitude was very peculiar. Queer in fact. Why is he helping me for a change? Frowning, Zhuofan looked dead in the weasel's eyes. Pondering and finally letting it go. Time was no longer a luxury right now. All right. We'll do as Venerable Shur said. The inner sect elders and venerables shall stay behind, while labor offices will follow me. Zhuofan nodded and boomed. Everyone nodded and bowed in response. Venerable Chi's team had their doubts, but now, to support Zhuofan, they kept silent. Since even Venerable Shur, who was always against us, didn't make a fuss, why should we? So, Zhuofan led the oldies group as they walked out of the main hall with great fanfare. Soon, the entire sect was in a clamor as the disciples gathered to set off. Watching the lively scene, Venerable Shur had a nasty smile. An elder next to him frowned. "Venerable Shur, why would you allow such a serious action?" "It's because it's so serious that we must let the kid do it. I can't let him run off again without stirring things, huh?" Venerable Shur stroked his beard, his eyes glinting. "Getting rid of him alone isn't enough. We must remove the elite labor office down to the root as well, or they would just rise again and we'll regret it. Now that he's asking for it, we should further his manic plans and let him destroy himself." The others frowned, with only Grand Elder able to see the wisdom in it and shaking his head. "The kid has done it this time." Demon scheming sect's disciples had their orders and soon gathered. Kuei Gang and were obviously there, since they were the closest to Zhuofan. Soon, there were tens of thousands of disciples at the ready. Zhuofan looked around before setting off with all of them. The entire demon scheming sect was now empty and eerily silent, with only 100 elders holding down the fort. 2 weeks later, Kuei Gang and the girls were tense, waiting for news from Zhuofan. Seeing how another month passed, the four were tense about Chu Qingsheng and the others' fate, as well as if Zhuofan would be able to bring any help. Rumble. The sky darkened and thunder rolled. The black clouds loomed overhead, reflecting the downcast mood they felt inside. It was so oppressive it was hard to breathe. Looking above, those were not clouds, but a sea of people that came right for them. The one leading them was none other than Zhuofan. Kuei Lang cried out, Heavens above, Steward Jua got the entire sect to come? Why are there so many people here to get our girls? How high could Jua Fan even be in the demon scheming sect? Your sect leader is willing to fight mystical heaven sect all because he asked? Demon scheming sect looked stunned. The other two girls were excited. Across all Western lands, only one man had such a charisma to get so many people to move. Jua Fan, not that others lacked the power, but none were crazy enough to go to such lengths as attacking a sect for a girl none, but Jua Fan. Whoosh! Jua Fan led the descent. Kuei Lang's group rushed over with gratitude. Steward Jua, your name is so widespread and heavy that sect leader gave you such force. I am in awe of being able to follow someone like you. Jua Fan, however, made a gesture for him to keep silent. Keep it down. This isn't Xie Wuyue's doing. Luckily, he was away, and I could bring so many. Kuei Lang's scalp was numb. Also, these guys don't know why I brought them yet. So don't say anything and leave the explaining to me. Jua Fan grinned at the four, yet they were all shell-shocked. Kuei Lang was even shaking all over. Steward Jua, you didn't tell them anything and still brought them? When they find out we're going to save our girls, won't they turn on us? Kuei Lang felt like crying. I can even see my master over there. His master was against being with Han Qianying, and he was wondering just how pissed off he'd be once he found out he was here just to save her. Jua Fan patted his shoulder. Do you want to save her? I do. How much? With every fiber of my being. Kuei Lang spoke heavily. Jua Fan nodded and smiled. Then leave it all to me. With a wise look in his eyes, Jua Fan turned to the elders and released his mighty aura. Seeing him so high and mighty, Kuei Lang finally realized that he was unlike any of them. They were still hesitating even if they wanted to do this, while Jua Fan was a man of action and determination. That was why he, as a mere disciple, led most of the demon scheming sect's elders and venerables. Chapter 734, Join Forces. Chapter 734, Join Forces. Proofreader, Papatonks. Cough. Clearing his throat, Jua Fan looked at the elders and venerables, his face hard and dead serious. People, we'll stop here for now. I have to make you understand why we're going to Mystical Heaven Sect. Everyone get ready and prepare for action. They all frowned at how he spoke. They already found the fact he got all the experts from the sect strange. But Jua Fan's hard look seemed to show this matter had far more implications than he let on. They all looked at him, tension clear in their expressions. We're going to Mystical Heaven Sect. Jua Fan squinted and shouted, Attack! To teach them a lesson. What? They cried out instantly at such a preposterous idea. Venerable by even refuted. Steward Jua, that's going over the line. The 9 sect scuffles are minor, but to attack a sect like this without justification is criminal. The Double Dragon Manor will definitely intervene at some point and will punish us. None of us can take such blame. Not even sect leader. Jua Fan scratched his nose. Justification? Did grabbing girls sound better? Who the hell would risk their lives then? Steward Jua, is this really sect leader's intent? Venerable Qi looked at Kuei Lang and figured something out. If sect leader has no real reason, it's best we go back. It's not too late. If we go now, none of us can take on such a heavy responsibility for what may come. Venerable Qi looked long at Jua Fan as he advised. He was reminding Steward Jua, a mere girl ain't worth going crazy over. We can still turn back. Let's pretend that nothing happened before we lose more than we can afford. Venerable Qi didn't expose Jua Fan's intent as a huge gesture of respect, but would Jua Fan balk so easily? Jua Fan huffed and glared at them all. Do you know why I never stated the reason back in the sect? It's because I feared Venerable Shi's lies would block the attack on Mystical Heaven Sect. Why? Because if they lost this battle, they would lose everything. We, however, aren't afraid because we came from nothing and everything will be earned after. It's never in the now. They all shook and looked on with serious faces. The laborers were even echoing him. Many things had happened in the Double Dragon gathering, but I did not let the 3 venerables speak of them, out of fear that you would be impulsive. With a drawn-out sigh, Jua Fan continued with a crestfallen tone. Actually, our achievements could have been higher. But because of mystical heaven sect schemes, we suffered in singles, losing our chance to be a superior 3 sect. That really happened? The oldies whispered among each other in anger. Juefan-eyed Fiend Yang, shouting, "Venerable Fiend Yang, isn't that so?" "Why, yes," startled, Fiend Yang bobbed his head. Though Juefan had deliberated with the team on this matter before, to report only the good news for a greater achievement, yet Juefan had now used it as an excuse to get Chu Qingqing. He was going to do anything to instill hatred into these people and save his girl. Fiend Yang had no clue about this. So he just agreed with a dark look. Juefan gnashed his teeth. Sect leader was enraged when he heard the dire consequences. Mystical Heaven Sect is a lower 3 sect like we used to be. Now that we're about to be a real middle 3 sect, are we about to stand their humiliation? That's why sect leader sent me a month earlier to return the favor, to show off her sect's power. Having seen Steward Jua's light, they now knew he didn't leave for the secular world as it was said, but because of sect leader's order. But just as I got to Mystical Heaven Sect, something grave happened. Juefan's tone shifted. They want to combine with Heaven Trailing Sect. This will raise them above the middle 3 sect's power, just so they would suppress us from the shadows. Hearing this news, I rushed to report to sect leader. In this time, there were even 2 elders who came to silence me. But of course I killed them instead. What? The oldies exploded in rage. Mystical Heaven Sect was too damn presumptuous, leaving double dragon gathering schemes behind. Sending elders to kill our greatest contributor must be punished. Do they think demon scheming sect can be messed with? Seeing their anger, Juefan grinned on the inside. Sect leader was also furious hearing of this and wanted to deal with them personally. But you all know sect leader is holding talks with all kinds of empires. If we get pushed back because of 2 sects, it will affect our name. That's why sect leader had me to make the first move. Since we can't win Heaven Trailing Sect, that doesn't mean we can't touch its little bro. So sect leader gave me his badge, leaving me in charge. Even if Double Dragon Manor would punish us, we have to fight for our name. We are a middle 3 sect now, not something a lower 3 sect can mess with. This fight will establish us among the middle 3 sections. As long as Mystical Heaven Sect isn't destroyed, what's so grave about some punishment? I would even return the 2,000 sacred stones if I had to, just to preserve our name in the Western lands. Steward Jua is truly honorable. If you do it, how can't we? Let's mess him up. The crowd cheered with a roar, ready to go kill their way into Mystical Heaven Sect. Kuei Lang had a dumb look on his face. Steward Jua's wild boasting had the sect's elders thirsting for battle. Now even if sect leader shows up, they won't stop either. Just how did these shrewd, old guys end up taken in by Juefan's words so easily? That was because Juefan had preyed on their minds to get someone to give their life for you. Benefits were a must. Pillaging Mystical Heaven Sect. On the other hand, there was also a need for a reason. Sect leader's order was the perfect excuse, while also making him the scapegoat. Juefan even said he would return his sacred stones if he had to. It showed he'd take the blame as well. And finally, focusing their anger on a common enemy, getting everyone roaring to go everything when his Juefan wanted it to. He got every oldie on board, even if they had some doubts, because Juefan had smoothed over their worries already. Now all they had to do was follow Juefan in a battle and get those girls back who. Juefan eased a breath and sported a strange grin. Danner was stumped. This big talker actually got this motley crew to save someone. Even I would have believed him if I didn't know something about this. Ha! Venerable Chi shook his head. Fiend Yang's brow shook. Wasn't that badge used to be the leader in the Double Dragon Gathering? How did it become Wu Yu as proof to attack Mystical Heaven Sect? Fiend Yang was perplexed. The disciples who went to Double Dragon Gathering were also aware of the gaps in that glorious speech. But they were on Juefan's side. The previously puzzled demon scheming sect crowd was now united under a single thought: to kill. All that was left was to get to Mystical Heaven Sect. Seeing as he could not stop Juefan, Venerable Chi proposed a valid point. Steward, Mystical Heaven Sect is mostly the same size as us, but we are now going without everyone and are about to attack their home ground. It'll be hard to beat them behind their array. The people stopped being noisy and frowned. True. Zhuofan's brow shook and grinned. He turned around to look at a black cloud coming over, led by a familiar figure. Brother Zhuo, we've come to help. Who? The demon-scheming sex people looked up to see the sky covered by a throng of men. As they flew over, in the lead was a man in his 20s. Filled with vigor and regal, Zhuofan's features softened as he smiled. You've grown, Yinhai. Brothers have come to answer the call. Zhuofan's eyes flashed and laughed. Ha ha ha. Now we have enough men. My two armies will join forces and win. Chapter 735. Young Sanzi came to help. Chapter 735. Young Sanzi came to help. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. Just like pitch-black rain, they all landed like a downpour behind Luo Yinhai. He came before Zhuofan in excitement. Brother Zhuo, it's been ages. How have you been? All right. Zhuofan grinned and patted his shoulder. I'm relieved you've now grown into your role as clan head. You must be skilled now in leading the Luo clan. Luo Yinhai shook his head. It's all because Brother Zhuo set the stage. With the three stewards minding everything, even as a clan head, I didn't have much worry. Ha ha ha. A clan head's greatest ability is to manage his people. If you'd micromanage everything in the clan, then you wouldn't be a clan head. A smile was splayed on Zhuofan's face. Those three are called the wisest three in Tianyu. It's clearly not for nothing. With them by your side, I had no worries. Luo Yinhai was worried, though. But Big Brother Zhuo, I always hoped you'd come back. I've always kept the Grand Steward spot empty for you. Even Steward Zhuge won't touch it. As for the other two, you got their positions set. When will you be coming back? I'll be a steward again when I return. Zhuofan grinned at him. I'm currently soaring through the ranks, yet to come back down. Startled, Luo Yinhai blinked at Zhuofan. There's another empty seat as well, my cis-husband. You could always. Forget it. It's better to be a steward. Zhuofan shook his head. I already have a wife. I sent a jade slip over to call for help just to save her, then go back to the Luo clan. Truly, Luo Yinhai was overjoyed. Just then, a rough voice sounded from behind. Steward Zhuo, you're coming back at last? We've waited ages for this. Zhuofan looked up to see a very familiar face. His number one aide, Li Jingtian. He was already in the 6th layer of ethereal stage, bursting with power and might. His grand aura even forced the weaker cultivators back. Next to him was Qiu Yinhai, Xue Qingjian, the two sages, and tens of others in the ethereal stage. While foreign to him, they all held Zhuofan in high regard. Elderly, everyone long time no see. I'm indebted to you for this. Zhuofan cupped his hand before them, returning the gesture. They said, Steward Zhuo, it's our duty. Thank you all. Let's rush to mystical heaven sect. Zhuofan cupped his hands again and shouted. The Luo clan bowed and took to the skies, till the end. The demon-scheming sex crowd was in shock at such display. These guys only had around 40 ethereal stage experts, yet Zhuofan only told them to fight, and they obeyed. No questions asked. Not caring about their safety, the demon-scheming sect had many reservations in this battle. Yet they looked at Zhuofan's serious face with a lost look, then sighed. Their steward was clansman. Of course they trust him. They didn't even ask for a reason to fight, only for Zhuofan to tell them to. It went to show just how highly he was seen among them. No wonder Steward Zhuo abandoned demon-scheming sex prospects to return home. This clan was worth it. Fiend Yang and Venerable Qi sighed that. A childish voice came from the skies once more. The people looked up to see a red glow flash before them. Taking the shape of a 7-year-old, only this kid could fly, and from the faint aura he gave, he was definitely in the ethereal stage. All of Demon Scheming Sect was shocked. How did this kid train? This is ludicrous. Only Zhuofan and Luo clan knew that he was Tianyu's #1 freak, invincible scamp Gu Santong. No matter how freaky and tough Zhuofan was, he fell in 2nd place. Not that it mattered when they were practically related dad. Gu Santong landed right in Zhuofan's arms, cheering. Zhuofan smiled. Kid, you came at last. I thought the old guy wouldn't let you. As if. Even if Uncle said no, I'd just sneak out to help my old man. Hey. Gu Santong was so glad he was holding Zhuo Fan in a tight and long hug. Zhuo Fan was also happy to see him, however. The demon scheming sect was dumbstruck. A freak like Zhuo Fan had a 7-year-old in the ethereal stage. His entire family is made of freaks. They could only sigh and shake their heads. Gu Santong pointed at the two sages. Why aren't you two dead yet? Last time you had me trapped real tight. Now you dare show your faces again before me? Let me just send you off then, permanently. Gu Santong was about to jump out of Zhuo Fan's arms and straight at the two. The sages tensed and fell back. Young Sanzi, they're with me. I also helped you by teaching them a lesson. It's all in the past now. Zhuo Fan grabbed Gu Santong and explained, startled. Gu Santong turned to him, and only after a while did he nod. How smart of you. You're only alive for being on Dad's side. Humph. Snickering, Gu Santong raised his tiny fist at the two, and the sages sighed. Young lord, it's you who always mess with us. You're just as unreasonable as your old man. Scratch that, you're worse. The sages fell helpless before the duo bearing the same insufferable attitude. That's enough catching up. Let's see how we're going to attack Mystical Heaven Sect. After pleasantries, Zhuo Fan turned serious. Yinhai, how many did you bring? Luo Yinhai cupped his hands. The 4 tigers of Tianyu are defending the border. Elder Yin is handling alchemy, while the stewards handle the internal affairs. Except for them, Luo Alliance's entire power is now present. We have 50 ethereal stage experts, 5,000 in the radiant stage, and 100,000 large flying tiger army. Demon scheming sects, oldies click their tongues. For a mere clan to gather such force is a rarity. As our agent in Tianyu, he really is amazing. Then we will make up for each side's gaps. Next we'll be crushing their home advantage. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and waved at the 2 armies to come, and here's plan. They all lit up and looked at him in stunned silence. 2 months later, in a dark room in Mystical Heaven Sect, the sound of the door unlocking was heard as the heavy iron door creaked open. A savage face was revealed, yet he wore the lavish clothes of a gentleman. Xin Xiaoyu. In this dark place sat 3 girls, Chu Qingcheng, Xue Ruohua, and a woman in her 30s, of soft skin and black eyebrows. Despite being pale, she kept her grace. Senior Sister Qianying, is this really necessary? Xin Xiaoyu bore a twisted smile as he mocked. Your confinement will soon end. 20 years have passed, yet you still cling to this. You're unmarried, so I don't need you. Why must you cause such a scene? Glancing at him with a cold look, she spoke. Xiaoyu, I've watched you grow and thought you'd be different from your father. I was wrong. Your demons are worse than your father's. Your father loves his son dearly. Which is yours? My father. The sect leader is your master, no? The way you talk is like you don't see him like that anymore. Xin Xiaoyu huffed and turned to Chu Qingqing's flawless beauty with intoxication. Everything I do is for love. Junior Sister Qingcheng, half a year is almost up, and he still hasn't showed up. You better hold your end. Don't worry, I won't suck you dry. I know restraint. I wish to grow old with you. Chu Qingqing's brow rose, and she spoke flatly. He will come. Since he said he'll be here in 6 months, then he will be here. If he won't show, it's because you stopped him. I will always hold on until he comes before me. Humph, a demonic cultivator entering a righteous sect. Demon? Ha ha ha. Who is the real demon here, I wonder? Han Qianying mocked. Xin Xiaoyu was furious and clenched his fists. But he controlled himself. Then, a frantic disciple rushed over to report. Young master, there's someone outside the sect asking for you. He said he's Zhuo Fan from Demon Scheming Sect. Chapter 736. Arriving at Mystical Heaven Sect. Chapter 736. Arriving at Mystical Heaven Sect. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan. Xin Xiaoyu's eyes widened in shock. This manic demon dares to knock on Mystical Heaven Sect's door. The girls were startled, and Chu Qingcheng was smiling looking at her. Han Qianying smiled. Junior sister, your guy ain't bad. Just the fact he faces Mystical Heaven Sect alone shows he's worth it. But I'm not content. I want to see him and hear his answer. Smiling, Chu Qingcheng sighed. Shui Rohua looked on in envy. Junior sister, a man that cares for you will be with you forever. I believe his answer will be the one you wanted. Enough, Xian Xiaoyu snorted. Demonic cultivators are cruel. How can a damn demonic cultivator be fit to stand next to junior sister Qingcheng? His flowery speech has duped her. I will never let her be deceived by such a shameless fiend. Shui Ruohua sighed. Junior brother, how did you turn out like this? So petty and greedy. You weren't like that before. A change, you say? It's you who changed. You've always been cold like ice and against demonic cultivators, while now you let yourself be taken by the demonic path. Xian Xiaoyu's eyes turned bloodshot from anger. Even if you changed, it doesn't matter. I refuse to let Qing Cheng sink any lower. Han Qianying watched his crazed attitude and sighed to Shui Ruohua. Junior sister, let it go. He's been taken by his demons. He's even worse than a demonic cultivator. He won't wake up. His father must know this as well. Yet what does he do? He still caters to his crazed son's whims, yet says he purges demons? His son wouldn't have ended up like this if he hadn't pampered him to this extent. Sigh, his father has been overcome by his demon as well, or he wouldn't have dragged junior sister Qingqing into this. Mystical Heaven sect has long since stopped being righteous. Shui Ruohua's heart was crushed, and she sighed. Mystical Heaven sect was where she grew up, always being righteous as it was. But at some point, she noticed that it had turned rotten. Its glory, hiding a deep shadow more dreadful than a demonic sect or sadness, only deepened. Xian Xiaoyu mocked. Junior sister Qingqing, you really think I'll let Fan go since he came alone to Mystical Heaven sect? Or what? You'll detain him? Someone so important to demon scheming sect. Chu Qingcheng sneered. Xian Xiaoyu gnashed his teeth. There are plenty of ways to keep him here. Don't underestimate me, junior sister. You can't beat him, and I advise you not to taunt him, lest you want your life to be over. Chu Qingcheng spoke. Xian Xiaoyu's heart shook. Then he was enraged. Her cold attitude showed how little she cared about him. He clenched his fists and came to a decision. Junior sister, you'll see. I will make him crawl like a dog before me. We'll see who's the final winner. Guard. Yes, young master. One disciple bowed. Did Fan come alone? Is anyone with him? Xian Xiaoyu squinted. The disciple reported. Young master, there's one man with him. One called Kuei Lang. Kuei Lang? Isn't that senior sister Qianying's close friend? Ha ha ha. Xian Xiaoyu snickered at her. Senior sister Qianying, you were just praising Qingqing's yearning, but yours isn't any humbler. Because of his love for you, Kuei Lang had abandoned his match with me in the Double Dragon Gathering, risking his sex punishment. How else would we get to beat demon scheming sect in singles? Now that he came waltzing in here like an ignorant fool, I bet senior sister must be wanting to see him too. Han Qianying shook. Xian Xiaoyu snickered. Don't worry, I'll make sure to leave his corpse for senior sister to bury. Huh. Xian Xiaoyu laughed as he left. The iron door closed shut behind him. Han Qianying clenched her fists, her heart a mess of joy and sorrow. Then she started blaming Kuei Lang, this foolish man, coming to Mystical Heaven sect. But I'm relieved that he still remembers me after all these years. I didn't suffer 20 years in vain. Chu Qingcheng smiled at her. Senior sister, rest easy. With Fan around, he'll be fine. That guy of yours, is that amazing? Can he stand tall before Mystical Heaven sect? Han Qianying asked curiously. She admired Fan's courage, but she was still skeptical about his power. Mystical Heaven sect was a sect after all, and he'd be trapped in its array. Once inside, how was he to protect Kuei Lang when he had to worry about himself first? She knew Fan was revered in demon scheming sect, but Xian Xiaoyu had become obsessed and would not care if the sects became enemies. Young master must be planning to get rid of them at all costs. Who will save them then? Chu Qingcheng smiled to ease her worries. I know Fan better than anyone, so relax. He never was one to lose out. I have never seen him lose in any of his fights. I believe he came prepared this time as well. Chu Qingqing's face was one of absolute trust. Han Qianying watched, stunned. Shui Ruohua nodded as well. Senior sister, I've seen Zhuofan as well. He's not normal. Kuei Lang should be safe with him. Han Xining looked at them and took a deep breath. To calm her heart, all she could do was pray that this unknown and mysterious Zhuofan would be capable of a miracle to keep both of them safe. Outside of Mystical Heaven's sect, an opening popped into thin air, followed by a disciple coming out and welcoming Zhuofan and Kuei Lang. Honored guests, sect leader welcomes you in his hall. The disciple was in the profound heaven stage. He bowed and spoke amiably. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Mystical Heaven's sect wants to play around, huh? This is clearly a trap. Not that they were scared. Since they came willingly into the tiger's den, the two cupped their hands, and Zhuofan spoke. Thank you for leading us. The disciple bowed again and took them in steward. They didn't attack outside because they want to get rid of all traces on the inside. They don't want to take any chances. Kuei Lang sent to Zhuofan. Zhuofan smiled and nodded. Sending back, that's for sure. They went for the girls and know why I'm here. Since they welcome us in, it shows they want to kill us outright, not caring about the demon-scheming sect. Then we don't need to hold back at all. But before we start, we must make sure the girls are safe. We can't have them using them as hostages. Kuei Lang's eyes flashed. They soon arrived at the flashy main hall. The disciple led Zhuofan and Kuei Lang inside. But on the main seat, they saw an old man that was barely skin and bones with a hard look and dignified air. The disciple bowed. Greetings, sect leader. The honored guests have arrived. Leave us. Sect leader Xian spoke, and the disciple left. Sect leader Xian looked Zhuofan in the eye. It is you, Zhuofan. Does sect leader Xian know me? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Sect leader Xian nodded. 10 years ago, in Tianyu Empire, I chose Chu Qingcheng to prepare for Double Dragon Gathering, while Xie Weiyue chose you. I thought I had him pay a heavy price for you, but I was astonished to find out how much you shone in the Double Dragon Gathering. Your name shook the Western lands. I can see that sect leader Xie's eyes were sharper than mine. Sect leader Xian is too kind. Zhuofan smiled. This old bag of bones, what's with that heavy look? What Double Dragon Gathering preparations? You clearly took her for your son. You think I don't know? Hypocrite. Zhuofan and Kuei Lang despised him on the inside. Chapter 737. Bargain. Chapter 737. Bargain. Proofreader. Papatonks. Sect leader Xian's face was flat as he said, I can't help but wonder, what has brought you to my sect? Can it be that sect leader hasn't heard? Zhuofan raised a taunting eyebrow. Qingqing and I come from Tianyu and have known each other since. I owed her a clear answer since then and never got to give it yet. At the Double Dragon Gathering, I came upon a realization, so I had told her that I would give her an answer half a year later. Now I have come to fulfill that promise. Sect leader Xian squinted and turned colder on the spot. Is it love? Oh, sect leader Xian is so wise to see it. Zhuofan nodded with a smile. Kuei Lang at the side had to hide his chuckling bam. Sect leader Xian slammed the armrest in anger and jumped to his feet. Zhuofan, you're a demon-scheming sect disciple. If you're here on sect matters, I'm most open for discussions, but my sect has rules too. My disciples are forbidden for being friendly with demonic cultivators, especially about fraternizing. For you to mention this to me, are you perhaps doing it to mock my sect rules? Men, seize them. Yes. Sect leader Xian issued his order, and the main hall was flooded with people from everywhere. All profound heaven disciples. Zhuofan sneered. Did this guy not hear about my feats at Double Dragon Gathering? When even ethereal stage experts were no match for him, what was he doing throwing small fries at him? Since so many came at a mere shout, it was obvious this was premeditated. This wasn't to capture them, but to force them to strike first. Sect leader Xian knew killing demon scheming sect's best disciple just from a mere offense was the worst way to do it. He had to get this disciple to make the first move by killing mystical heaven sect's people and sealing his fate. The fact one killed their men, even in their own home, was inexcusable. Making it so killing him in turn was totally justified. Not even Double Dragon Man might get involved. This sly dog wants us killed. Zhuofan squinted and just stood there. Kuei Lang looked calm as well. giving Fan a look of admiration. It's all going as stewards were predicted. This old coot really wants to make us start killing. First is to lure us into a crime, then use experts to purge us for the demons we are. Thank God Steward Jua saw it coming, or we'd have started killing. Not so fast. Jua Fan shouted, Sect Leader Xian, you knew long ago why we're here. Why all the theatrics? Let's be blunt about it and talk business. Sect Leader Xian watched the two as the tide of people only surrounded them. He knew his plan fell through and waved. All of you leave. The disciples started, then receded as the tide, gone in a blink, and leaving the three alone once more. You're worthy of your reputation in Qianyu Empire. To have your name echoing far and wide after Double Dragon Gathering as well, Steward was sure, is something. Steward nodded. If anyone else would have come to me with this, I'd hardly care. But Steward Jua, since it's you, I'm a little intrigued. What kind of business are you talking about? Jua Fan smiled. Sect Leader Xian, Mystical Heaven Sect has lost in the Double Dragon Gathering and hardly got anything. Ah, not that much. It's pretty much the same as always. With a sharp glint in his eyes, Sect Leader Xian noticed something. Jua Fan, where are you going with this? Nowhere, really. Only considering Sect Leader Xian's position. Demon Scheming Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect have always been at odds. Demon Scheming Sect now has 10,000 sacred stones to grow. Mystical Heaven Sect only got 200. 100 years from now, Demon Scheming Sect will soar while Mystical Heaven Sect will be stuck. Even if there were more Double Dragon Gatherings, do you really believe you have the power to turn around? What are the odds of something like Demon Scheming Sect's sudden rise happening again? At that time, who knows what our sect leader would do? Jua Fan had an evil smile on his face as he looked at Kuei Lang. Getting a little bit of kick out of it, right? Ha ha ha. Steward Jua, you have a much too kind opinion of our sect leader. When the time comes, he won't stop there. He'll make sure none of those that offended him will ever return. Right. It's you who's been in the sect for longer and got his temper. Ha ha ha. Jua Fan patted Kuei Lang's shoulder. Kuei Lang laughed as well. Sect Leader Xian's cheek twitched. Jua Fan, just say what you want. Let's make a deal. His face back to being serious, Jua Fan began. You know what I want. I got 2,000 sacred stones from the Double Dragon Gathering. Almost the same amount the last spot in middle 3 sects got. If you have them and grow up fast, in the next Double Dragon Gathering you won't fall so far behind of Demon Scheming Sect. Leader Xian's eyes lit up. He probed. You mean you're willing to give me 2,000 sacred stones? It's not give, but trade. Jua Fan squinted. We only want Chu Qingsheng and Han Qianying. Then these sacred stones are yours to do what you please with them. Quite the bargain. Sect Leader Xian frowned, his heart filled stirred by all kinds of feelings, even as his face looked stone cold. You want me to give my disciples to 2 demonic cultivators just for that? What do you take me? Businessman. Jua Fan cut him off with a smile. You made a deal with Qingsheng the first time. Now I am the one making a deal with you. You had Qingsheng come to your sect for Double Dragon Gathering. Now it's over, and you didn't get to win much either. And now that I come to you with a losing deal on my part, you're not going to take it? Sect Leader Xian's beard shook as he frowned. Using disciples in a deal is not the righteous path. But seeing how you're so willing, then of the two, just one, it's either both or the deal is off. We'll just leave and won't even take them. Demonic cultivators are cruel at the core, and we want the 2 just so we can ease our regrets. But if the price is too high, we'd rather not take it. Breaking emotions is a road we all must take. Jua Fan's eyes flashed, giving Sect Leader Xian no chance to haggle. Sect Leader Xian knows that I only have 2,000 sacred stones on me. I also only want the 2 girls. From the start, our chips were called, and this deal can only have 2 outcomes. Please, enough with the games, Sect Leader Xian. You're looking down on our sincerity. Amazing. Sect Leader Xian was dumbstruck, but then he sighed. Men, bring Qingsheng and Qianying. Yes. One disciple outside the door shouted and rushed to comply. Jua Fan and Kuei Lang nodded, and grin it all went perfectly so far. The old coot was taken in by the sacred stones. Easing a breath, Sect Leader Xian felt stuck. He discovered that ever since Zhuo Fan showed up, everything went his way. Being led around like this left him feeling most unsettled. Not even when talking with Xia Wuyue would he lose so much ground. Sect leader Xian was glum inside. So he said, Zhuo Fan, does Xia Wuyue know you're giving up 2,000 sacred stones for 2 girls? If sect leader knew, would we have reached here? Zhuo Fan smiled. We all know using resources on the enemy isn't good for the sect, but demonic cultivators are selfish. For our girls, we sometimes have no choice but to ignore the sect. Sect leader Xian nodded, just like I thought. Xia Wuyue has no clue about this. That's good. They came by themselves. That means they don't have demon scheming sect backing them. Even if I take the stones, then I can. Sect leader Xian's eyes flashed with bloodthirst as he made a sinister grin. Xian Xiaoyu just came out of that room and was about to go to main hall to prance around as Zhuo Fan was at his death door. Yet he saw a disciple rushing to where the girls were held and shouted, Hey, what are you doing? Young master. The guy bowed. Young master, I am obeying sect leader's order, taking Chu Qingsheng and Han Qianying to the main hall. What? Xian Xiaoyu looked at the main hall in shock. Father, what the hell are you doing? Chapter 738, The Answer. Chapter 738, The Answer. Proofreader, Papatonks. What happened to the 2 from the demon scheming sect? Are they dead yet? Feeling restless for some reason, Xian Xiaoyu grabbed the disciple's shoulder as he asked. The disciple was slightly scared, holding in the pain coming from his shoulder as he faltered. They and sect leader were at odds at first. Sect leader gave the order to kill them, but then what? Xian Xiaoyu stared fixedly at him, gulping. The guy hesitated. Then sect leader had us leave. They talked some more, seemingly reaching a conclusion. Then sect leader had me bring the ladies. Beat it, Xian Xiaoyu roared, pushing him. His cheek twitched, his eyes exploding with fury. Reaching a conclusion? What the hell is that old coot doing? Didn't I tell him Zhuo Fan must be killed? Why are they just chatting? The disciple slowly got back to his feet, not even looking the angry young master in the eye. Young master, if that is all, I have to pass the order. Hold it, Xian Xiaoyu barked, and the guy almost cried in fear. He didn't know how he was supposed to face such a crazed young master. He feared the young master would explode and kill him ever since Double Dragon Gathering. The young master was unnatural, his mood volatile. Many junior brothers were killed at the slightest whim. It would not be much if this was a demonic sect, but we're a righteous sect here. How can you kill left and right? But since he was sect leader's son, everyone had no choice but to bear it. The guy spoke on the verge of crying. Young master, how may I help you? I'm coming with you. I want to see what game Zhuo Fan is playing to unsettle the old man. Xian Xiaoyu clenched his fists as his face twisted in rage. 15 minutes later, the heavy iron door opened with a creak. Xian Xiaoyu and the disciple were back inside. Chu Qingsheng mocked. Back already. Xian Xiaoyu was vexed. He didn't answer. The disciple walked up. By sect leader's order, senior sisters Qingsheng and Qianying, please come to the main hall. Why should we? Chu Qingsheng asked back. The disciple shook his head. I don't know. After sect leader talked with the 2 disciples from demon scheming sect, he told me to get Pa. Before he finished, the disciple was met with disaster in the form of a hard slap. It hit his cheek with so much force, he was bleeding from the mouth and collapsed. You're supposed to relay the order, not run your mouth. Xian Xiaoyu glared. The disciple was overcome with injustice, but did not voice a word. The girls were overjoyed. Zhuo Fan got sect leader Xian to get them out. Han Qianying was startled as she muttered in disbelief. The crude Kuei Lang knows how to negotiate. It has to be Zhuo Fan. Qingsheng, your man is really something to make sect leader yield. Chu Qingsheng smiled. Her pride in Zhuo Fan could not be explained with mere words. Xian Xiaoyu was annoyed at their faces and was about to blow a gasket. Don't get too happy. You might be going to main hall just to see Zhuo Fan begging on his knees for my dad's mercy. Give it up. Xian Xiaoyu snapped. Men, take them. Yes. Someone came over to escort them. Wait. They turned to Shu Ruohua. Can I come to the main hall to see as well? Shu Ruohua spoke. Xian Xiaoyu squinted, then nodded with a mocking smile. Sure, senior sister Ra. You've always looked after me before, but since the punk showed up, you've changed. Were you entranced by him as well? Then I'll bring you along as well, to see who the real winner is between us. Xian Xiaoyu flicked his hand, and another person came to Shui Ruohua to take her flushing red. Shui Ruohua glanced at Chu Qingcheng, but what she got in reply was a curious look. She had to lower her beet-red face, unable to look straight at her Xian Xiaoyu, and the three girls strutted over to the main hall, chinnying. Seeing the girls, the restless Kuei Lang rushed to his feet and went to the girl he hadn't seen in 20 years to grab her soft face. Han Qianying shook, her own hands gently tracing the aged face as she spoke tenderly. It's been so long, Kuei Lang. Yeah. The child is all grown up, Kuei Lang nodded. Choked with emotion, Zhuo Fan smiled. Then he looked at Chu Qingchang, yet in no rush to go to her. He just gracefully put down the teacup and simply walked to her. I've come to take you. Hold on. Zhuo Fan didn't get to reach her as Chu Qingchang stopped him. You came to take me? That's it. Why? Everyone started, not understanding her. Shui Ruohua was the most confused. Didn't she always want to see Zhuo Fan? Why refuse now? Zhuo Fan chuckled. Yeah, I didn't come just to take you. I want to give you a 10 years late answer. Chu Qingqing's eyes shook as she smiled. Do you still remember the question? Of course I do. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath as he began. I remember you asking me in Drifting Flower City whether I had any reason to stay for longer. Chu Qingcheng nodded, and I recall you telling me no. I lied, and for that, I even coughed blood. The reason for the blood you saw. Zhuo Fan's eyes glistened with tears, as if recalling that feeling. Now I want to answer you once more. In the Drifting Flower City, the only reason I had for wanting to stay was to spend my life in that rundown house. Because there I lived with the person I never wanted to leave. Chu Qingqing's mouth shook, then widened in a mesmerizing smile. Is this just another lie? Who knows? You'll have the rest of your life to see. Zhuo Fan smiled as he opened his arms. Are you willing to live your life by this demon's side? To verify this answer. Chu Qingchang giggled. Brazen demon, I will watch you all my life to see if you lied. If I find out you did, humph. Chu Qingcheng stomped her feet, then rushed for Zhuo Fan to hold him in a fierce hug. She closed her eyes and listened to his heart as she muttered, From now on, I will always listen to this sound to know you. I couldn't be happier. He wrapped his hands around her waist as tenderness was evoked on his features. He took a deep breath, feeling like the whole world was at peace, or maybe that he possessed the entire world. Shui Ruohua watched stunned and sighed in disappointment. Yet wished them well. Kuei Lang was also smiling. Happy for him, only Xian Xiaoyu was fuming mad, ready to spew fire like a volcano. Demon, I'm not giving junior sister Qingchang to you. Father, what is this? Why are you giving them to these demons? If word got out, who would respect mystical heaven sect again? What about me and my illness? Xian Xiaoyu turned to sect leader Xian, who started pointing out the reasons to not do this by giving Chu Qingcheng to Zhuo Fan. How am I supposed to repair my elemental imbalance? I still need her virginity. She can only be my woman. Sect leader Xian knew all of this, but remained undeterred. Because he wanted both his son alive and those stones, sect leader Xian spoke. Zhuo Fan, you already have what you wanted. Are you going to honor your promise? What promise? When did I promise you anything? Zhuo Fan mocked. Going back on his word on the spot, sect leader Xian roared. Zhuo Fan, you dare toy with me? Don't forget, you're in mystical heaven sect now. And? I got what I wanted anyway, huh? Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted, his smile devilish. Chapter 739, Blatant Taunt. Chapter 739, Blatant Taunt. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sect leader Xian's face fell as he barked. I knew demonic cultivators aren't to be trusted, but I never believed you had the nerve to go back on your word right in my sect. Go back on my word? Ha ha ha. Sect leader Xian, you're blowing things out of proportion. Zhuo Fan sneered. Speaking of trust, there's nothing of the sort between us. Let's be honest here. Did you really go that far? All the way to Tianyu to get Qingcheng, just for Double Dragon Gathering? Wasn't it to save your poor excuse of a son? Sect leader Xian shook as he spoke. Where did you hear that? Pa. Zhua Fan snapped his fingers, and in a flash of blue, the Danner everyone knew appeared. Danner. The girls cried. Danner was shocked to appear here, but was happy to go to them. Sister Ruohua, Qingcheng, I told Zhua Fan everything. He'll take us out. The girls smiled, and Joy's sect leader, Xian, knew Zhua Fan knew everything and no longer faked. He stood up, unleashing all his power and his bloodlust. He clearly wanted to rob Zhua Fan. Zhua Fan sneered. Sect leader Xian, it was you who showed no trust in us. Our deal was never going to work. But now, I will give you one last chance. 2,000 sacred stones for Qingcheng and Han Qianying. You now have a choice to make between the future of the sect and your son's life. The people started and turned to sect leader Xian to wait for his answer. The girls now understood how Zhua Fan convinced their sect leader to get them here. 2,000 sacred stones were very enticing for a sect. No wonder even the sect leader, who was always thinking about his son, was enticed. But when Zhua Fan only mentioned Chu Qingcheng and Han Qianying, Shueira was crushed. How did he forget about her? Xian Xiaoyu stared at his father, soaked in sweat, and waiting for his decision. It couldn't be that his dad was going to forsake him for 2,000 sacred stones, right? Zhua Fan. Sect leader Xian squinted as he spoke. I want the fish, and I also want the bear paw. How will you settle it? Zhua Fan stared hard at him. Isn't it giving up the fish for the bear paw? Smiley face, Mincy is saying. The meaning is you have to sacrifice something in order to gain something. For the entire story, https://ethics of suicide. libutah. edu/selections/Mincius/. Wrong. It's eating the paw and taking the fish. That's how you have them both. Sect leader Xian's aura exploded as his bloodthirst spiked, making everyone shiver. The power of an 8th-layer ethereal stage expert caused these radiant stage cultivators to feel like they were under a mountain, suffocating under its pressure. Xian Xiaoyu was overjoyed. He got his dad's intention, to get both Chu Qingcheng and the stones. That meant killing the two. His joy was short-lived. However, as a scarlet fist slammed into his chest, he couldn't even react as the power went through his chest like a sword. He sprayed out blood from his mouth as he was sent flying, making a 3-meter large hole in the wall. The bright sunlight shone from the outside on his bloody figure and glinting off the golden scales of his armor, now dented, shuddering. Xian Xiaoyu looked at his original spot with hatred. Zhua Fan. TCH, a 9th-grade spiritual armor. It must be your lucky day to survive a blow from me. Zhua Fan said in disdain. Sect leader Xian went pale. A 30-meter-long red spear appeared behind him and pierced at Zhua Fan's small build as he roared. Zhua Fan, you harm my son. Die. At the incoming immense power bearing down on them, Han Qianying paled and wanted to warn Zhua Fan, but Kuei Lang stopped her with a smile. Han Qianying was puzzled. Zhua Fan looked to be in the radiant stage. Fighting sect leader in his crazed state was a death sentence. However, Kuei Lang showed not an ounce of worry. Do they all believe Zhua Fan can live after sect leader's soul attack? She had no way of knowing. All the people here had seen Zhua Fan's might, and they knew it was out of this world. Sect leader Xian, you're using power to have your way. Since you wanted this, then I won't hold back. Ha ha. Zhua Fan snorted and looked at the long spear. He squinted and a dragon roar echoed out as an astonishing light came from his body. Bam! The loud bang grated the other's ears, the flood of power sweeping everything and making the main hall erupt, its pieces falling everywhere. The mighty force made the whole sect quake. The elders and venerable were startled and rushed over, while the clueless disciples just watched the main hall in stupefaction. What's going on over there? The ground kept shaking as dust engulfed the skies, covering the bright sun above. The girls held their ears, shaking with the earth as they tried to hold on when the dust settled. Han Qianying watched in shock. That Qianying, that is the proof steward. Zhua is the best disciple in Western lands, a heaven dragon soul like exalted double dragons. The large scarlet dragon flicked to its tail and wrapped the spear tight. It could not budge an inch. Zhua Fan sneered at the spear, hardly caring about it. Kuei Lang etched in pride as he made the introductions to his woman. As if the soul was his to begin with, stumped, Han Qianying now came to and sighed. Junior sister, your man is just like you said. It's my first time seeing a disciple stopping sect leaders in rage blow. Chu Qingxiang smiled in pride. Kuei Lang was also smug. Qianying, Stewardjua isn't just a disciple. In the Double Dragon gathering, his strength has got nothing to do with you. Don't talk like his glory is yours. Han Qianying cast her elegant eyes on him and shook her head. You haven't changed after all these years. You still like to brag, I see. Kuei Lang gave a bashful smile, looking at Han Qianying with joy and bliss. Sect leader Xian watched Zhuo Fan's dragon and was shocked. He heard the disciples that came back that Zhuo Fan was tough, but not by this much. He was at the 8th layer ethereal stage, yet Zhuo Fan was only in the 4th layer radiant stage. The gap was more than 10 layers. Even with the Heaven Dragon soul, there was a limit to how much one could bridge, yet his ever-trusted long spear could not even touch Zhuo Fan, trapped by that scarlet dragon. It was so strong it even overwhelmed an expert like him. Zhuo Fan saw through his shock. Sect leader Xian, I might be of lower cultivation, but my soul formed when I entered the radiant stage. In other words, my soul is like a 4th layer ethereal stage soul. Not to mention it's the strongest there is, the Heaven Dragon soul. You'll have to try harder if you want to take my life. Ha ha. Sect leader Xian was outraged, his fists clenched. This is a blatant taunt. Never in his life had he been taunted by such a young radiant stage expert. What made it worse was that the taunt was irrefutable. Looking at the trapped long spear, sect leader Xian grew angrier. On his turf, he was the one that looked bad. His son was smashed, and he couldn't do anything about it. He felt he had no face left. Whoosh. Sect leader Xian shook and recalled the long spear. His eyes were fixed on Zhuo Fan, glinting coldly. Zhuo Fan, you really are the best disciple you showed at Double Dragon Gathering. But don't think for a second you can go where you want in Western lands. You're not the best yet. Here is the mystical heaven sect, not your backyard. Sect leader Xian roared, and tens of figures littered the sky. Chapter 740, Hiding a Million Army. Chapter 740, Hiding a Million Army. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. One after the other, ethereal stage experts gathered around them, numbering more than 60. Their huge auras turned into a cage, trapping all of them in the middle, their hearts sinking. The girls looked at the savage faces they each had and shook. These were the highest powers of the sect. Alone, Zhuo Fan could beat them, but not like this. The girls were worried for Zhuo Fan, but he and Kuei Lang were calm as ever. Not even Danner twitched. As if it was all in the plan, Danner sneered at those elders, even rolling her eyes, ganging on. We'll show you the real meaning soon enough. Zhuo Fan, there's nowhere for you to run. Seeing that help was here, Xian Xiaoyu regained his ego. Struggling to get to his feet from the heavy wound, he cackled. Ha ha ha. Weren't you tough? Let's see how tough you are in my home. Men, finish him. Xian Xiaoyu ordered, and the elders were about to act, but sect leader Xian held them back, ignoring his clueless son. Sect leader Xian eyed Zhuo Fan. Hand over the stones, and I'll let you go. Father, Xian Xiaoyu cried out, but sect leader Xian waved him off with an evil grin plastered on his face. Zhuo Fan said, Sect leader Xian, you take me for a 3-year-old? If word got out that mystical heaven sect not only wanted to kill me from the start, but now wants to rob a mere disciple of his sacred stones, the whole Western lands will look down on you. Would you actually allow that to happen? Ha ha ha. In the end, you'll still use power to have your way. I'm no fool, so please don't insult my intelligence. No one would believe you. Zhuo Fan, your biggest flaw is that you're too clever. It would have been so much better if you just died without knowing so much. Sect leader Xian's brow shook. Since you already guessed it, then no more mincing words. I'll just have to search your corpse for my prize. Are you sure you'll find them? Ha ha ha. Even if I don't, it won't matter. In the end, an astute man like you won't ever leave this place alive. Sect leader Xian shouted. Everyone attack. Kill him at all costs. The others roared and converged on Zhuo Fan, unleashing their souls and surrounding the almighty Scarlet Dragon King. The thick bloodthirst had even almighty Scarlet Dragon King, shaking Zhuo Fan, raised an eyebrow and waved. Sect leader Xian and the mighty mystical heaven sect is ganging up on someone. My, if only the world knew. You're wrong. No one will know with you dead. Sect leader Xian had a nasty smirk on his face. Western lands will soon find out the best talent in Western lands. Zhuo Fan invaded mystical heaven sect in his madness to violate and kill a female disciple, causing havoc through our sect. The elders fought to contain you, but the demon was berserk and had no choice but to put him down. Not even Xia Wuyue can question that. The others were shocked. Sect leader Xian wanted to kill them at all costs. They make up some excuse, seeing the elders closing in. They turned serious, with the girls ready to die, and this only Zhuo Fan took it in stride. Nice speech, but what about this take? The best talent in Western lands, the distinguished and carefree Zhuo Fan, was the victim of a most nefarious ploy. The mystical heaven sect planned on robbing him of the 2,000 sacred stones and even killing him for them. However, the sect elders came to the rescue, carving a path of blood. Zhuo Fan's ring flashed, and 50 demon, scheming sect elders came out, displaying their souls with a bang. As they met the mystical heaven sect strike, the elders returned to Zhuo Fan's side with a heavy face as they watched the enemy warily. While mystical heaven sect's elders were stunned to see 50 more people coming out of nowhere. What? This kid's ring can hold people? Xian Xiaoyu's eyes shook as he cried out. Sect leader Xian shook his head. At most, his ring can only hold these many. Calm down. Sect leader Xian mocked Zhuo Fan. Your version isn't bad, but a shame it's not going to happen. This is the mystical heaven sect. I have all the men and power I need while you only have 50 people. What's 50 more corpses anyway? Sect leader Xian shouted. Inner elders and venerables, hear my order. At his summons, the sky was soon filled with people flying over one after the other. There were hundreds of them. Zhuo Fan, today you'll be buried along with these people. Sect leader Xian smirked with pride. Xian Xiaoyu was overjoyed, yet against the triple-doubled layers surrounding him, Zhuo Fan and the new demon scheming sect elders on the scene were unperturbed. They had it all planned out, laughing at the sky. Zhuo Fan lifted his ring, his eyes shining. Sect leader Xian, you think only you can call people out? Ha ha ha. This might be your turf, but not even you'd expect, with my cautious nature. How can I come without assurances? Just to die? Sect leader Xian shook, his heart uneasy. Then he looked dumbfounded as the rest of the elders at what happened. Brothers have come to answer the call. Zhuo Fan's thunder ring flashed blue. Lights started coming out of it, and an aura covered the skies. The pressure of the mystical heaven sect's group was now dispelled in an instant. When the light show finished, what came out was a shocking scene. Even sect leader Xian was stunned and watched Agape, the enemy, attack. In an instant, none could believe their eyes. It was not much of an exaggeration to say the whole sect was stunned. They were under attack. This cry had spread throughout the mystical heaven sect. Many disciples stood stunned at the news. Where? How are we attacked with such a clear blue sky? Besides, isn't the array on? Where are the attacks? They were still oblivious that while an attack at night was a night raid, one in broad daylight was called an enemy attack. In this situation, however, the critical point here was who the enemy was and whether it could threaten them. Zhuo Fan and Kuei Lang were looked down upon by sect leader Xian. Zhuo Fan called 50 helpers, yet sect leader Xian still did not call out, but now he shouted this and proved they had the power to threaten the sect. And this power was now within their prized array, defending the sect. They were in their home. This attack out of the blue was just too inconceivable for the disciples to understand and prepare against accordingly. This was a concealed danger for the future. How is this possible? Xian Xiaoyu looked dumbstruck at the army. Where did they come from? And so many. How can he hold so many people in his ring? The girls were looking shocked as well. The once clear sky was now covered by a sea of people. In the tens of thousands, it was literally an army. How can this be? A mere storage ring held an army on standby. Everyone gasped at Zhuo Fan and at his ring. Where did this guy get that kind of treasure? That's too outrageous. Didn't that mean he could strike anyone with an army whenever, wherever? This is freaking unheard of. How would they know that Kuanpeng reforged the ring into a sacred ring? Its space was not only huge, it could even hold a nation. This was not the point, though. The crux here was Zhuo Fan got the army and hundreds of ethereal stage experts from Demon Scheming Sect to easily slip past. Mystical Heaven Sect array next was obvious, a huge war on the sect's lands. Now, only strength would be the judge as to who would win in this war. Mystical Heaven Sect's fate was at stake. Would it perish? Haha, quite possibly. Chapter 741, Necro Dragon's Claws. Chapter 741, Necro Dragon's Claws. Proofreader, Papatonks. Venerable Chi, Venerable Bai, you will take the right flank and stop the enemy. Elder Chio, Sister Shui, you take the left flank. Elder Li, you will take the remaining ethereal stage experts and carve a path through the middle. The disciples are to go with the Flying Tiger Army on a killing spree. Get the treasury and cut off their reinforcements. The army just showed up, and Luo Yinhai started giving orders, just like how a real marshal would. The men roared and went to execute. The Mystical Heaven Sect oldies were still slow on the uptake when the Demon Scheming Sect's force came at them with the intent to kill now. They had to react, however. Demon Scheming Sect's force had Luo Yinhai preparing them till now, teaching them formation. The sheer display had struck fear into the Mystical Heaven Sect, caught unprepared as they were, and it made them frantic in their response in a single fight. A commander had little importance, while in a group, that was where he showcased his ability, taking initiative on the battlefield through strategy and awareness in a split second. The battle turned out to be an enactment of the strategy Luo Yunhai and Zhuo Fan devised early on. Taking the higher ground, they were the ones surrounded by hundreds of elders. Yet now, the left and right sides were freed, while in center, Elder Li's force was having an easy time clearing a path. Luo Yinhai then took Flying Tiger Army, the Radiant Stage, and Profound Heaven Demon Scheming Sect disciples as he shot forth, ignoring the ethereal stage experts' fights so as to not suffer needless losses their targets. Mystical Heaven Sect disciples. They aimed to kill them and take the treasury's arms and pills to cripple the enemy's backup, although the reinforcements were close. Knowing that it was taken out so fast, it would strike a blow at the ethereal stage experts' morale, sapping them of the will to fight. Zhuo Fan nodded. Yunhai is becoming more and more outstanding. He doesn't cower even when ordering ethereal stage experts. He's just like me back in the day. There's the Luo clan as well. Looking at the familiar faces, Chu Qingsheng was startled. Zhuo Fan nodded. Yep, they heard the great steward Zhuo's madam was taken and came in full force to help me. Well, even though it's been so long since I left the Luo clan, they still hold me in high regard. She rolled her eyes and shook her head. But what about the Demon Scheming Sect? How'd you get the sect leader to give you so much power? Han Qinning asked in shock. She had grown in the sect and knew of its might. But why would Demon Scheming sect leader spare nothing in saving Zhuo Fan's wife? She just couldn't figure it out. Was Zhuo Fan so important to the sect leader, much more than the sect? Zhuo Fan and Kuei Lang looked at each other and chuckled. We'll talk later. Now, we need to finish what we started. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone and stared at sect leader Xian. Grinning, he shouted, Sect leader Xian, it seems to me my version isn't far from becoming a reality. Sect leader Xian's face twitched. Watching the frantic battlefield, he grew startled and angry. Clenching his fist as he shook all over, Zhuo Fan's sudden attack was out of his predictions, and that had him scared, to the point it even made room for panic to set in. But he was a sect leader after all. He took a couple of deep breaths to calm down. Mystical Heaven Sect, fight. Beat back the invaders. Toll the bell. Act. Yet not far from the main hall, howls came as it started burning. Sect leader Xian cried. That's the treasury. They're stealing our arms and cutting off our supplies. Damn it. They were ready for it from the start. That's why they started this war. said a venerable with a long beard who was standing next to sect leader Xian. He started cursing. But how the hell did these outsiders know where our treasury was? Who the hell told them? Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth and held a girl in his bloodshot eyes. Danner, you damn traitor. You even told everything to your enemies. You're giving mystical heaven sect no chance of survival. If I had known, I wouldn't have taken you in. Well, shaking, Dana looked scared as she hid behind Chu Qingqing. But she soon got over her fear and stuck out her nose. Master, didn't you take me in for your own devices? Enough of your noble act. Stop trying to look benevolent. As Zhuo Fan said, we each take what we need, regardless of the other. You want our lives, and I'm supposed to just give it? No way. Shaking all over, sect leader Xian was fuming mad as he barked. Filthy traitor, you've been lied to by that demon punk. I'll make sure to get rid of you for this betrayal. Sect leader Xian pointed, and the long spear's soul shot straight for Danner Ak. Danner once again ducked behind Chu Qingqing. Then, the dragon roared once more, and Zhuo Fan's almighty Scarlet Dragon King blocked the girls. It flicked its tail and slammed the long spear from the immense power surge that was released. Many ethereal stage experts that were fighting were blown away as the long spear was beaten back. Almighty Scarlet Dragon King also had a scale on its tail destroyed from the clash. This was a draw, sect leader Xian. The lass is my wife's little sister, which makes her my little sister. Are you looking down on me so much by targeting her? Zhuo Fan walked on the Scarlet Dragon and mocked sect leader Xian. Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth as he spat. Zhuo Fan, you've brought all of them here to ruin my sect. I won't let you off for this. Tisich, you're talking as if you would have if I was alone. Hypocrite. Zhuo Fan sneered. No matter what, today I vowed to accomplish 3 things. 1. To answer my wife's 10-year-long question. 2. To take her from this place she gave herself for my sake. And 3. Humph. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone with bloodlust. To get rid of any that dare threaten my wife. That's why your death is at hand. So you will never touch her again. Zhuo Fan roared as the Scarlet Dragon shot for sect leader Xian. Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth and charged as well. The huge long spear and the mighty Scarlet Dragon clashed in a mighty display of force. The power surge made the fights around look like a children's scuffle, forcing the ethereal stage experts to back away before they could resume the fight. Demon scheming sects oldies saw for the first time Zhuo Fan's soul and were shocked by its power. Looking at the two fight, that was not between a disciple and a sect leader, but between 2 sect leaders. Every elder and venerable sighed, then nodded. At some point, it seemed Zhuo Fan wielded the power of a sect leader. Sect leader, we'll help you. The 2 venerables next to sect leader Xian shouted, but a black shadow appeared in front of them. Li Jingtian gave them a cold look. Sorry, I hope you won't disturb Steward Zhuo's fight. You'll be fighting me. The 2 mocked. You're only in the 6th layer while we are in the 7th layer ethereal stage. You hope to take us all by yourself? Fool! Ha ha ha! Idiots, we are Steward Zhuo's people. How can our cultivation be normal? Li Jingtian sneered. Only dumb homegrown cultivators would ever think that. The 2 were outraged. Humph, you'll know soon enough, old man. Behold the power of mystical heaven sects, double axe exterminators. The 2 shook, and a huge axe, as well as battle axe, appeared behind them. Their power was so mighty, it felt like they would rip space as they hacked at Li Jingtian. Our double axe souls are famous throughout Western land for their sharpness. Even a domain soul will have a hole ripped in it. Your death is certain with your weak cultivation. Sorry to disappoint you, then. Li Jingtian's eyes flashed and grinned at the incoming axes. Then a malevolent aura exploded from him, soul variant, necro dragon claws. Roar! A roar shook the skies as a pitch-black dragon enveloped Li Jingtian. The 2 dragon claws oozed sinister power as it grabbed the axes. The 2 mocked. Fool! That's no heavenly dragon soul. There's no way that it can, Crack! The 2 shook and their eyes bugged out, dying like that. As for the axes, they were torn to pieces, dissipating in the wind on Li Jingtian's black dragon claws. There was even a faint black glow. I'm no heaven nor earth dragon soul, but that doesn't mean I'm going to lose to some overconfident fools. Li Jingtian's eyes shone, and he left, leaving the surrounding elders to gape in shock. Did he come from the secular world? For him to be tied to Zhou Fan, he must be something else. Chapter 742, Loyal and Righteous Clan. Chapter 742, Loyal and Righteous Clan. Proofreader, Papatonks. Stop those damn brats from getting to the treasury. Under Luo Yunhai's leadership, Flying Tiger Army and Demon Scheming Sect's disciples quickly got away from Ethereal Stage Experts' fights and charged straight for Mystical Heaven Sect's critical areas. Sect leader Xin wasn't the only one able to see their plan. Many other elders were concerned about this, as well as the shout of one man. Many others got away from their opponents and went after Luo Yunhai. A great pressure was instantly upon them from behind, and even though most were blocked by Demon Scheming Sect elders, there were still 6 that got through under those mighty auras. Luo Yunhai frowned, his scalp tingling. They were all mere radiant stage and profound heaven disciples. Going against an ethereal stage expert was suicide. Even with thousands of people on his side, it would still end up with their cruel demise. They had no way of stopping those ethereal stage expert souls with their puny divine sense. They would be mowed down like grass whoosh. Suddenly, 2 very familiar figures appeared next to Luo Yunhai. Were and Kuei Gang. Looking tensely at him, Kuei Gang hurried. Luo clan head, what do we do? Master told us to listen to your every order. Your brother's was disciples? He actually took disciples? He always refused when asked. Even Elder Yin was only imparted skill and never taken as a disciple. You. Luo Yunhai shook from shock, then nodded. I see. No wonder brothers would pick you two to come here among the thousands of disciples of the Demon Scheming Sect. You're on our side. Kuei Gang nodded. Yes, Master said we always listen to him, and while Demon Scheming Sect disciples will obey an outsider's order, that won't go on for long. So he let us two be the middlemen. In any case, we're also Demon Scheming Sect disciples. They trust us more. If you have any orders, tell us, and we'll make sure these disciples will follow your lead. Then take all of them and attack the treasury. Luo Yunhai shouted, then flew behind startled. Kuei Gang quickly grabbed Luo Yunhai, who wanted to leave. Wait, what are you doing? We're attacking the treasury, but what about you? I'm going to stop the ethereal stage experts on our backs and buy you time. Luo Yunhai flew again. The two were stunned. Kuei Gang held much tighter now as he grew nervous. You're looking to die? They're ethereal stage experts. No matter how many people you have, they'll end up dead, all of them. And I'm a soldier at heart. A soldier does not fear death on the battlefield. In any case, this way we'll reach our goal. Luo Yunhai grinned. Kuei Gang was stumped, then gnashed his teeth. Master had us obey your orders. You're the commander here. How can we let you be in danger? I'll go. Demon Scheming Sect disciples, listen up. Pa. However, he didn't finish as Luo Yunhai grabbed his shoulder. Since your brother Zhuo's disciple, with the Luo clan here, how can I let you face danger? Moreover, Brother Zhuo told me that in this war you must be safe. Later, he'll be giving you a great surprise. But you, Kuei Gang's eyes shook. Luo Yunhai waved his hand. This is the way of the Luo clan, of righteousness and loyalty, a teaching passed down through generations. As the clan head, I have to uphold it. Brother Zhuo did so much for us, so I won't ever let his disciples be at risk. Moreover, you said it yourself. Your master told you to obey my orders. Then listen to my command. Luo Yunhai flicked his sleeve and got away from them, flying behind to welcome the 6 ethereal stage experts flying Tiger Army with me. Focus your divine sense, breaking formation. Yes, the Flying Tiger Army converged and charged at the enemy with Luo Yunhai. They all knew what awaited them, but life meant nothing before a soldier's duty. To obey this was the Luo clan style. Combined with the original Luo clan's literary reputation, of being righteous and loyal, Zhuofan's bold and fearless nature, as well as Dugo army's inviolable orders, it became just like an impressive army. Seeing this fearless and brave army, Kuei, Gang, and Yuer were stunned. Then they sighed. No wonder Master always wanted to go back. This clan cares so much for him. For our lives, as mere Master's disciples, this clan head is willing to pay with his. This is crazy, idiocy, or is it true righteousness? Ha ha ha! I never imagined a demonic cultivator like Master's home would be the most righteous clan. Kuei, Gang sighed. But this righteous clan is not as loathsome as the other righteous sections. Yuer, let's go. Kuei, Gang wanted to take Yuer to attack the treasury, but he found that she just stared at Luo Yunhai. Still, Yuer's eyes grew hazy. Kuei, Gang, you listen to Luo, clan head. I have another task. Yunhai shot for Luo Yunhai at full speed, leaving Kuei, Gang stumped. He gnashed his teeth and shouted, "Demon scheming sect disciples, follow me to raid their treasury. Don't squander Luo clan head's sacrifice." Yes. With a roar, the disciples looked at Luo Yunhai, touched by his actions, before going on to do their part behind them. Luo Yunhai took the 100,000 Flying Tiger army to pose as a shield for their backs. They had no chance in stopping the ethereal stage experts, but their dauntless aura gave a feeling of security. No wonder Steward Zhua came from the Luo clan. All of them are amazing. Whoosh! The 6 ethereal stage experts were now upon the army. Luo Yunhai shouted, "Charge!" The Flying Tiger army obeyed without question. Ignorant fools. Radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators dare block our way. They sneered and mocked Luo Yunhai and the Flying Tiger army. The elder with the long beard flicked his hand, and a lightning arrow 100 meters long shot like lightning for them. Soul variant, heaven-breaking arrow. Who? A huge pressure, one bearing death, descended upon the army. They found it hard to breathe, their mind in pain. Yet not even this could stop Luo Yunhai as he shouted, "Focus all your divine sense before us. We're 100,000 men." Yes, the men shouted once more, and with a strong wind, the divine sense gathered as it stuck together into a wall before the incoming arrow. The divine sense just kept getting stronger and stronger, however. The bearded old man mocked, "What can the divine sense of radiant stage cultivators do? It's no match for an ethereal stage expert's condensed soul. Quantity can't beat quality." Humph! A bunch of rats are looking to die, so have at it. The other 5 ethereal stage experts laughed loudly, not in a hurry to join, and instead enjoyed seeing these ants getting squashed. Whoosh. With a thunderclap, the lightning arrow struck the divine sense wall hard. It breached it without delay and went for the army unimpeded. The men all spewed blood, feeling their heads splitting apart from the pain. The few profound heaven cultivators in the Flying Tiger army had it worse. Their eyes lost their light and died on the spot, leaving their empty shells of a hard body to fall to the ground. Next came the fall of 1,000 bodies as they died from the attack. Luo Yunhai was in pain. With every thump, the Flying Tiger army was made of war puppets Zhuofan refined, and would not even be called humans, having only a divine sense. But these people were Luo clan's guards. Brothers Luo Yunhai had spent years by their side. He saw them as family, watching so many fall to their deaths tore Luo Yunhai apart. But he bore through the pain, and held on. This was the Luo clan's military style. Remembering the martyrs was done after the war. Now, they had one mission, to charge. The brutal lightning arrow had not slowed at all, as if to prove to Luo Yunhai and his men that all their efforts were for naught. A fool's errand, the ethereal stage experts sneered, but then their smiles fell. Luo Yunhai and the Flying Tiger army wore the same hard faces as they faced this deadly adversity. It was as if they did not know the meaning of weakness. Even the 6 ethereal stage experts began to show admiration. How long has it been since they last saw such determination? But you still have to die. The bearded elder's eyes flashed with bloodthirst and sent the lightning arrow flying even faster with a flick of the wrist. It was in front of Luo Yunhai in a blink. The burning lightning was so powerful he felt pain before it struck. Chapter 743, Different Path. Chapter 743, Different Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Damn it, it's faster than predicted. Luo Yunhai squinted at the incoming lightning arrow and gnashed his teeth as he shouted, "Even if I die, you are to hold them back down to the last man." "Yes, sir." The Flying Tiger Army roared in unison. The 6 ethereal stage experts' hearts shook at their devotion. Touched by their devotion, they were amazed there were people in this world with such commitment, facing death regardless of what happened to them, all to complete their mission. Thank God they're only in the Radiant stage and Profound Heaven stage and can't harm us. Letting them grow would bring about a calamity. Such dreadful power made them wonder just where they came from. The demon-scheming sect had no way of having such loyal disciples. That was for sure. The 5 ethereal stage experts were puzzled and sighed, but most of all, they were afraid. While the bearded elder was more determined than ever to end them, they all must die. Crack! The lightning arrow crackled as it ripped through the air, ready to annihilate the entire Flying Tiger Army. Luo Yunhai clenched his teeth with a frown. His biggest worry was not his death, but that he bought enough time for Kuei Gang's team to complete their raid. Luo clan head, focus all of your men's divine sense on me. A soft voice echoed, that of a girl in white, as she landed before them. She parted her red lips and spat out an azure flaming bead. Luo Yunhai's eyes widened on seeing Zhuo Fan's disciple. Flying Tiger Army, focus all your divine sense on this lady. Who? In an instant, the huge wall of divine sense that everyone formed was now flooding Yuere's body, the soldiers acting without an ounce of hesitation, shaking. Yuere was shocked as the power flooded her. It was even too much to handle as she had to cough up blood. She never imagined Luo clansmen would be so quick and direct. They gave her everything without the slightest hesitation. They were not even familiar. Even if they were on the same side, not hesitating to give her everything while risking their lives was never seen anywhere. Yet now, the Luo clan's army did it just like that, smiling. Yuere's heart turned soft. She grew up in the demon-scheming sect, where everyone was out to get everyone. The only one she could trust was her sister. Now that she was being trusted by strangers moved her, almost forgetting her plans. Soon, though, she came to and used all that power to focus on the azure flame bead. The bead shone brightly, and the azure flame roared stronger and stronger into a firewall that safeguarded everyone just in time to welcome the lightning boom. The fierce explosion resulting from the impact caused a violent firestorm, while the lightning arrow's power passed the firewall and struck Yuere. She cried out and spat blood as she was flung in the air. The lightning arrow was, in the end, also affected by the azure flame. Shuddering and turning black, the bearded elder felt pain shoot through his mind, threatening to split his head open. As for the lightning arrow, it was slowly coming back to him. The azure flame bead fell to the ground as it used up all its power. The azure flame on it turned into a mote, threatened to be extinguished. 100,000 divine senses were focused, and through the azure flame, they stopped an ethereal stage expert soul's attack. It only worked to prove the disparity in strength between Radiant stage and ethereal stage. Luo Yunhai rushed to Yuere. Seeing her white as paper, he was worried. "Miss, how are you? Why did you come? I thought I told you to go with the demon-scheming sect disciples and take their treasury." Yuere took a deep breath and looked at him through half-lidded eyes. "Why did you give me all your divine sense without hesitation? If I didn't block it, you'd be all dead." What's the point of saying that now? Your brother, Shua's disciple. You're one of us. Since you came and decided to take that soul attack, no matter if it worked or not, we must show our trust by giving you all our strength. Luo Yunhai spoke naturally. Then he looked at the bead. Reality proved you did block it. Staring hard at him, Yunhai chuckled. "I planned on blocking twice, but you guys just had to give me all of your divine sense and force me to be injured from the overflow, wasting some of it. Now I only blocked once." "What?" Startled, Luo Yunhai made a weird face. You mean to tell me it's my fault? You should have said how much divine sense you needed. Yue shook her head. It's the first time we met. It's even while we're at death's door. How should I know you would give your life in some stranger's hands without hesitation? I said I wanted all your divine sense, expecting to get a mere third at the most. If I said half, I might have gotten a tenth. But who knew you'd be so trusting? Luo Yunhai shook and gave her a long look. Despite looking downcast, he saw an odd sense of glee on her. He knew why and sighed. I see. You don't trust anyone. But rest assured, we, Luo clan, completely trust our allies. Luo Yunhai stood up and once again faced the 5 ethereal stage experts with his army. Miss, thank you for your help, but you're hurt now and can't take another strike. You'd best leave from here. We will stop them down to the last man. Yue looked at him and struggled to stand. Walking next to him, Master gave us a mission. No matter what happens, you must live. I will protect you till my last breath. She flicked her hand, and the azure flame bead landed in her palm. Yue stepped up before Luo Yunhai, and the bead once again was ignited, ignoring her frail body and the blood flowing from her mouth. Yue shouted, "Give me all of your divine sense. I can take another one." Luo Yunhai's eyes shook, and he held out his hand. "Give me the bead. You can barely stand." "No, it's my mission." Yue turned her head around Luo Yunhai's side, then turned serious. "I'll be ashamed to face Brother Zhua after this, but I must tell you. For Brother Zhua, the end justifies the means. He only cares about his goals. To him, my life is so much more precious than anyone else here, even more than his own disciple. All are worthy sacrifices. That's why you don't have." "Why did you tell me then?" Yunhai raised an eyebrow. "It's your honor from Master to sacrifice everyone for your life." Luo Yunhai shook his head. "Brother Zhua is just protecting me, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to live when others die. I know that Brother Zhua raised the Luo clan by himself, but he didn't force me to walk his path. That is why, as the Luo clan head, I hope to bear the lives of all my clansmen and not have them shielding me. I want true righteousness and loyalty, the path of kingship. So you don't have to admire. Then don't say it." Yue smiled, her eyes flashing. "You want to protect everyone, but you can't stop others from protecting you. It no longer has anything to do with the mission." Luo Yunhai shook as he looked at Yue. "I'll use the bead Master gave me to block again. No matter how it ends, with your life or death, I will do all I can." Smiling, Yue said, "And this is my will, as thanks for your trust." Yue showed a rare bright smile. Luo Yunhai cupped his hands. The bearded elder, wounded by the azure flame, finally recovered and spat. "Curse you! Mere ants dare to harm my soul. I'll make mincemeat out of you." "Hey, Elder Su, you can't even handle a few radiant stage cultivators, yet still act tough?" One mocked. "Why not let me handle the brats for you? Unless you want to get hurt again and make you look bad." "Huh." The person flicked his hand, and a sharp, long sword hovered in the air. Its might bore down harder than the lightning arrow. The army's heads started hurting even before it struck. Luo Yunhai and Yue were shocked, their faces sinking. Yue held the azure flame bead tight in her shaking hand. Not even the azure flame bead can stop such power. Chapter 744. Heaven, Earth, Fire, Water, Madness. Chapter 744. Heaven, Earth, Fire, Water, Madness. Proofreader, Papatonks. Nation-crushing sword. With a flash of contempt in his eyes, the person flicked his hand, and the long sword fell from the heavens above. The powerful pressure slapped into the soldiers, halting their breaths. In addition to the pressure, the sharp sword also had a piercing soul power that caused their head to hurt as it burrowed into their minds. Luo Yunhai's expression turned heavy, and he looked at the shaking Yue in front of him. He came next to her and snatched the azure flame bead, then shouted, "Soldiers, give me all your divine sense." "Yes." Flying Tiger Army shouted in response, as everyone powered their power like a tornado into Luo Yunhai. Luo Yunhai shivered, almost unable to take it all as blood seeped from his mouth. But he didn't care. Focusing all the power into the bead, the azure flame once again exploded, releasing a large fire. Snake Uera cried out. "What are you doing? Get it back now." "Ha ha, it's too late." Luo Yunhai chuckled. "Miss, I now control the bead, and only I can maintain its power. If you take it, then the defense will fail, and I'll suffer its backlash, dropping dead. Your brother was disciple, so I don't think you're going to make such a rash decision." Uera's heart tightened, giving up soon after. She should have been the one defending him, but now. Luo Yunhai chuckled. "Miss, hurry up and leave. If I die, then just tell Brother Zhuo it has nothing to do with you. There is no way I can hide behind a woman's skirt in the face of danger. I am a Luo clan head." Luo Yunhai shouted and focused all his energy. The azure flame on the bead went crazy as it flooded out of it. The Flying Tiger army was also standing at the ready to face their enemy. Uera was stunned, and then added her own soul power to Luo Yunhai. "Miss," Luo Yunhai started, "with your wounds, how can you do such a thing? Just leave this place while you can." Uera frowned as she turned stubborn. "Master gave me that bead, and there's no way I'm leaving here without it. We'll stop the soul attack, then you'll return it." Luo Yunhai looked at her deeply, then shook his head with a sigh. "Cocky much? You actually want to stop my Dipper Sword soul?" The person snickered at them. "I'm unlike that Elder Su in the third layer, nor is my soul weaker. You have no chance of blocking it with your cultivation." The person shouted, and the sword soul increased its plunge. The heavy pressure increased even more, making the earth crack under their feet and kicking up a cloud of dust. The azure flames were shaking before it struck, about to crumble at any second, and making Luo Yunhai and the army cough blood. The azure flame snake was also weaker. The person had a sadistic smile as he watched them suffer. His power was far stronger than the previous one. They may be 100,000, but it was not enough to even take one of his attacks. They were going to perish, without a doubt. Shaking his head, Luo Yunhai turned to Uera. "Miss, it seems you lost your chance to leave. We shall die together. Is dying alongside me not fitting for clan head?" Uera cocked an eyebrow. Luo Yunhai chuckled. "No, this may be the only upside in our demise." Uera grinned and closed her eyes as she waited for the sword to drop. The terrible pressure had sapped most of the azure flame's power. The glinting sword edge came closer and closer, ready to crush this 100,000 army. Yuling cried out, wanting to help, but she still had an opponent to deal first. All she could do was watch her baby sister die. The other demon scheming sect experts were tangled in their own battles and could not give aid. Either the disaster seemed imminent. Zhuo Fan, who fought sect leader Xian, had no intention of helping either, though he could do it in an instant. He did not. He wanted to see, after all these years, if the elders and venerables he arranged would jump to the rescue. If they proved unable, he would give them a thorough lesson back home. If they proved unwilling, a house cleanup is in order. Luo clan head, did you know? I've always been someone's burden, unable to die even when I wanted to. Then I met Master and my life finally changed, though there hasn't been much to change my mind. But now I want to live on just when I'm about to die. Uera no longer looked at the sword and closed her eyes as she felt death creeping in. Is it karma or providence? Luo Yunhai gave her a deep look and held her hand. Death may come at any time. All that matters is that you make it worth it. Though now, in the face of death, I don't think it's that bad. Uera giggled, no longer afraid of what was to come. Face twitching. The elder of the sword soul was annoyed. For God's sake, if there's one thing I hate most, it's seeing couples getting all lovey-dovey before death. Stop ignoring me. He made a sign, and the sword soul sped up, its sharpness making their heads hurt. Their time of death was swiftly approaching, however. A burning light flashed, and a scorching ball of fire appeared before the two, striking the heavy sword's soul boom. The long sword and the fireball separated, but their power swept the area, making the weaker ethereal stage experts falter back. Whoosh. The long sword returned to the person's side and caused him to shiver as blood spilled from his mouth. He stared back in anger. Hi. It seems to me the Luo clan got itself a madam. That's a cause for celebration. Ha. An elegant figure in white floated down before the army. Luo Yunhai was overjoyed. Sister Shui. Shui Qingjin looked rather pale at this moment, her breathing ragged. Yet she still put on a smile. Qiu Yinhai coughed, wiping the blood, and walked next to her. Clan head, we came to help steward Zhua. So could you possibly keep your mind on track? Old Qiu, that's my line. A mocking voice came from the side. Li Jingtian. In the Luo clan, you're one of the few couples back home. True, true. Indeed. On the other side were heaven and earth sages, expressing their approval of Li Jingtian's words. Seeing everyone here, Luo Yunhai was overjoyed. Yuer was stunned. She knew ethereal stage battles were savage, so how did they finish their fights so fast? But looking at them closer, they could see blood. Luo Yunhai's brow shook. Elderly. How could you? Looking at the blood on him, Li Jingtian chuckled. It's nothing. This is just the price for cutting the fighting short. What? Luo Yunhai looked at the 5 of them and saw each bearing a wound, some even a dozen, but they did not care. This made him tear up. He knew they risked their own lives by foregoing their battles. To save him, this great favor filled him with gratitude. Zhua Fan grinned. Heaven, earth, water, fire, and madness. The 5 high venerables he got for the Luo clan didn't let him down. Chapter 745, Strongest 5 Elders. Chapter 745, Strongest 5 Elders. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. 24 more ethereal stage experts showed up on the 6th side. There were now 30 ethereal stage experts. 8 were in the 6th layer, 10 in the 5th, and the rest were in the 4th and 3rd layer. While on Luo Yunhai's side, only Li Jingtian and the sages were in the 6th, with a power couple in the 5th. The Luo clan was at a clear disadvantage. Mystical Heaven Sect's 30 ethereal stage experts had them surrounded with a look of scorn. Where's the fire? Ha ha ha. You ran all the way over here just to save some radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators? Now you're in an even worse state, with them as your shackles that seal your fate. An elder with a large mustache laughed. The 5 did not care. Li Jingtian turned to Luo Yunhai. Clan head, take Flying Tiger Army away. We'll stop them from coming after you. 5 stopping 30. Yuer cried, no way. They have experts stronger than you. Qiu Yinhai mocked. Lass, don't lump us with your rowdy demon, scheming sect elders. Our words to clan head are just like in the military. We do what we say. We won't let one of them slip past us, or my head is on the line. Yuer looked at him hard. Are the Luo clan's rules that strict? 5 holding back 30 was pushing it beyond their limits. It was simply 1 to 6, and now they had another harsher condition, to not let anyone slip by. Luo Yunhai nodded heavily. Then I'll leave it to venerables. We'll go join the demon scheming sect at the treasury. Luo Yunhai pulled Yuer's soft hand and flew away. Flying Tiger Army with me. Yes, sir. The soldiers shouted and converged, following Luo Yunhai outside of ethereal stage experts' range. Yuer was frantic, watching the 5 and worry. Why, you truly believe they can fight 1 on 6? Aha, don't worry. They're the strongest Force brothers will left for the Luo clan. They're Luo clan guardians, keeping their word. If they said it's all right, then it's all in their hands. Luo Yunhai kept pulling Yuer's hand as he flew away. Li Jingtian chuckled. Then his eyes turned savage. With clan head safe, we can let loose. Humph, show off. So you're telling me you couldn't go all out before? 1 ethereal stage expert mocked. Did you forget who gave you that fresh wound? Qiu Yinhai sneered. We got hurt on purpose. How else were we supposed to save clan head? That was your only shot at harming us. Indeed, an elder with white hair stepped out. His dreadful aura made him the strongest. You 5 do stand out of the crowd, stronger than the common ethereal stage experts. But you forget you were in a deadlock before you saved the juniors and couldn't get any advantage either. And now, you're much more tired than us. You'll be fighting 1 against 5. You're finished. The 5 just cracked up. Why are you laughing? Aren't I right? The old man asked. Li Jingtian nodded. Ha ha ha. Right, you're totally right. Though, that was when we fought alone. The elder had a sinking feeling. Who knew the day would come for old coots like us that would need us to work together? Ha ha. Qiu Yinhai chuckled and said, in any case, we're also fighting for stewardship this time around, who showed us so much favor all this time. We best not drag our behinds any longer, or clan head might actually suffer, and we'll be worse off. The other four grinned, sure. Heaven and earth sages made a sign, and one black and one white glow each shot from them. The two used this shining light to vanish when the light dispersed. The scenery around the 30 enemies changed. There was no more clamor of the fights from other people, just a world in shades of gray shit. This is a domain soul. We have to get out of here before we fall victim any further. One elder shouted, the others took out their souls, a glittering display of swords, spears, axes, and other weapons. It won't change anything. The two had a domain soul, but we will smash it with 30 souls attacking it at once. The others shouted as well, but when they took out their souls to attack, the world shifted. Black and white kept changing and turning their power into nothing. Even their soul power was being consumed. Outside the domain, the sages stood before the black and white ball as it spun around. Our domain is the yin-yang reversal. Your strength will be sapped from the constant change, given back to the world, until you have nothing left and your soul crumbles. You've got no chance in forcing your way out. The elders startled and thought of another way. Don't waste your energy, or the domain will take it. Gather your soul power together and breach the domain. We're 30 ethereal stage experts. It can't dissipate so much power all at once. Right you are. Yin-yang reversal has the yin and yang characteristics. No matter how many people are inside, their power will be taken away if acting alone. But together, you can get out. Heaven's sage mocked, turning to Li Jingtian. They're about to join hands and won't be able to hold it. You should fight as well. Well said. Li Jingtian's black aura surged and roared. A black dragon took to the skies and shot into the black and height ball. Soul variant Necro Dragon Chain Claw. Roar. As the soul power of all inside the domain gathered, a draconic roar entered their ears before they could figure out what was happening. Black claws fell from above like spears. They carried a sinister power as they pelted their souls and forced them to scatter. Everyone coughed blood and grew pale. The weaker ones took it harder. Their souls gone from this world, the other cried out in fear. They never thought a large-scale attack would hold so much power in each strike in a blink. The 30 ethereal stage experts were reduced to around half. What they didn't know was while they were scared inside the dual ball, Li Jingtian was spin outside, gasping. It's not easy taking on so many. Old Qiu, I leave the rest to you too. TCH, of course you'd be exhausted taking out half. Qiu Yinhai grinned. Old Li, you're just showing off. Wasn't there 5 of us? It should be 1 to 6. Fine, then don't join and leave the rest to the sages. Elderly rolled his eyes now, though. Qiu Yinhai's face fell. No way. Since he got half, how can I fall short? Qiu Yinhai turned to Xue Qingjian with desire. About to spew fire, Xue Qingjian shook her head and giggled. She rolled her eyes. Looks who's showing off now. The two made their signs as one hot and one cold soul came out and made contact. In a blink, they became a scorching and bright light as it shot for the domain. Yin-yang convergence, world annihilation. Chapter 746, Winning with Fewer Numbers. Chapter 746, Winning with Fewer Numbers. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? A fierce gale blew over, even as the remaining experts in the domain shivered in fear. They thought they'd see the claws again, but this time, what welcomed them was a blinding light. Its heat was burning them even before it reached them, as it turned everything in its wake to cinder. This astonishing power had shaken their hearts with dread. One elder warned, "Be careful and don't get near it." Thank you for stating the obvious, but how are we supposed to keep our distance? They all looked for a place to flee, but then someone looked on in fear. Why is it becoming bigger? Fool! It's not becoming bigger. It's the domain shrinking. We got nowhere to dodge. The people looked around in panic as the white scorching light closed in and only exacerbated their fears. One could no longer escape and got too close to the light. disintegrating on the spot, starting with the hand the others watched in shock as he was slowly erased from existence. Yet none came to help. They knew they would be next. Use your souls. At the shout, their eyes lit with hope. Yet none liked to be the first to test that theory, so without a choice, the one who shouted used his soul first to strike the light bam. However, the soul melted on contact with the light, vanishing as well the people's eyes bugged out. No one wanted to risk it any more so. The light closed in more and more, unaffected by the soul attack it took just now. Its scorching heat was taking one soul at a time. Cries sounded that filled the rest with even more dread finally. Only 4 remained, in the 5th and 6th layer, watching the light as they prepared to die. Curses. If I'm going to die, I'm going to make you pay. Soul explosion. One elder with bloodshot eyes roared. The scarlet longsword shot for the white light, scattering in an explosion after making contact. The old man's soul was gone, and his body slumped to the ground, but the white light shook now, with Qiu Yanhai and Shui Qingjian frowning outside the domain, with blood leaking from their mouths. But to intimidate the remaining 3, they held on, covering up the weakness of the light, watching the light coming after them still. The 3 were deathly pale. With their souls unable to do anything to it, they were out of options. They gnashed their teeth and spat. Since we're going to die, we'll go out with a bang. Someone had his soul explode against the light. Then the second Qiu Yanhai and Shui Qingjian kept spurting blood now that only one elder remained. He clenched his teeth, ready to die as well, but then the light puffed out. The elder looked dumbly, then knew what happened. Regret took him. The white light feared soul explosion. If they used it from the start, then many would have survived. But everyone only thought about themselves, and none wanted to sacrifice their lives for another until they had no chance but to go down fighting. When it was too late, the elder shook his head and sighed. Now what could he do alone? Outside the domain, the white light faded and turned into cold and hot lights. As they returned to the power couple, the 2 spat more blood. That's it. We can't take it anymore. Those guys are insane, going for suicide. We can't hold on much longer either. This domain is made of our souls. With so many explosions, we've been injured as well. Blood leaked from the sages' mouths and looked within. There's just one guy left. Let him out and just beat him up. Agreed. The others nodded, and the sages undid their domain. The elder saw the light of day once more. But now he was the picture of solitude. Everyone on the battlefield looked over and saw how 30 got trapped, and now only 1 survived. The shock was palpable, but the lone survivor had no time to even stand straight as the 5 were on him in a blink. Boom. Fire, water, savagery, yin and yang, all came down on his head like heaven's wrath. In moments, the old guy did not even have the chance to take a breath of fresh air before he was put down, his body gone. Every onlooker stood there dumbfounded. Who are they to be so strong, killing 30 by themselves? The mystical heaven sect was stunned. The demon scheming sect was looking dumbly, and even Zhuo Fan flinched. Then he nodded. These 5 sure are strong. I didn't waste all that effort after all. Not even he thought they would make such an effective team. Yuer kept looking back, and now was stumped as well. He stammered at Luo Yinhai. Today, ha! Brothers would taught 3 of them himself, while the other 2 merely gave them hints. That's why they became our first generation of venerables. Luo Yinhai chuckled. They're stubborn and prideful people, always acting alone, but they actually joined hands this time. Yuer sighed. They're all freaks. Like master, like disciple. They never became brother Zhuo's true disciples. Who's to say what his disciples would become later on? Maybe even stronger. Ha ha ha. Calling them freaks is a bit premature. Luo Yunhai chuckled. Yuer's face grew hard. But master doesn't seem to care much about us. He also said that he only got into the demon scheming sect because of the sect leader's deal. Oh, acting cool. Let me tell you what I know from my time with Brother Zhuo. He does care about you. Ha-ha. Luo Yunhai chuckled, gave him a long look, and smiled. Kill. In front of them, someone started shouting. They saw Kuei Gang's team fighting mystical heaven sect disciples. They all had around the same cultivation, making the fighting bitter and harsh. Luo Yunhai shouted, Flying Tiger Army, wing formation. Charge! Yes, sir. The soldiers followed Luo Yunhai's lead into battle. They were like wolves among sheep. One side had 40,000 men, the other 100,000 were puppets. One side was made of secluded disciples, while the others were veterans of war despite the similar cultivation. The outcome was obvious. Luo Yunhai's Flying Tiger Army turned the previous deadlock into a win. Flying Tiger Army was like a cleaver, cutting its way through mystical heaven sect disciples, leaving Kuei Gang's side stumped. Freaking hell. Master. How are Master's clansmen so strong? They're at the same level as us, but so much better in group battles. That's what it means to be in the military. Kuei Gang directed the demon scheming sect disciples to attack as well, and the mystical heaven sect disciples had no way of stopping such brutal assault soon. They arrived before the treasury, but the gates were closed tight. We're here. Luo Yunhai lit up and ordered, attack the treasury and cut off their supplies. Roar. The men shouted, even the demon scheming sect disciples, all excited about burning it to the ground. However, in a yellow flash, an immense power swept them and spread blood and gore in every direction. 10,000 died just like that. With thousands being from the tough Flying Tiger Army, an aged voice sounded, who dares come to my treasury? Chapter 747, Heaven Cycle Elders. Chapter 747, Heaven Cycle Elders. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sharp winds blew as four old guys came out of nowhere. Their backs crooked, their eyes lidded, and sitting cross-legged before everyone. The powerful auras coming off them made the army not dare take a step closer. Luo Yunhai frowned, his heart tense as he clenched his fists. He never imagined the number of demon scheming sect elders Zhuo Fan brought at the main hall would not make all the experts of this sect converge there. At least these four had stayed behind, and from their vibes, they were in the ethereal stage. Yunhai was now pensive. Unsure how to proceed, Li Jingtian's team looked from afar at the four and cried out, damn it, to those are. The five shot for Luo Yunhai's side. Growing serious, Luo Yunhai did not know the four's power, since he was not at their stage to even feel it. But Li Jingtian found they were actually in the 9th layer of ethereal stage, just shy of reaching soul harmony stage for these kind of experts to show up, and four of them, not even them, as ethereal stage experts in their rights, could beat them. There was no way their weak clan head could even touch them. Li Jingtian's team of 5 rushed over at top speed. Afraid their clan head would die, the next second Zhuo Fan looked over and was worried for the first time, yet he did not have the chance to interfere. The long spear was coming for him once more with little choice in the matter. Zhuo Fan continued directing almighty Scarlet Dragon King to flick its tail, sending it away. He turned around to go there, but he saw sect leader Xian's sinister smile. Humph, Zhuo Fan, if you had just escaped with so many people showing the way, I had no way of stopping you. But you just had to be so greedy and started fighting. Now our 4 high venerables came out, leaving you no chance of escape. Ha ha ha. Sect leader Xian cackled. Zhuo Fan gave the 4 old guys a long look. 4 ethereal stage experts in the 9th layer sure are amazing, but only a smidgen better than sect leader's 8th layer cultivation. And you think they'll turn the battle around? Think again. Ha ha ha. A smidgen, you say? Zhuo Fan, then you don't know much about Western lands, do you? You have no idea of my sect's power. Sect leader Xian smirked, pointing at the 4 as he mocked. Then feast your eyes on their power. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan looked harder, then his brow shook. The 4 old guys still had their eyes closed. Sitting there in midair, they sat in a 3-meter circle spinning around. Each elder released a special glow, red, green, white, golden. As the 4 lights merged following a certain pace, it turned into a blinding earthen light following the roar of a dragon. An earthen-colored dragon flew around the 4 of them. The ground constantly shook, feeling like the rapids on a stormy sea. The radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators couldn't even sit straight. As the earthen glow shone, they felt their innards shake and started puking blood. Many of them had their eyes roll into their skull and drop dead in a mere blink. Thousands died. Yet the four old guys didn't look like they moved at all, just sitting there as they moved in circle with eyes closed. Luo Yunhai cried out, "Get in the air and away from those four. Don't let their waves strike you." No one was a fool here and rushed into the air and away from the yellow curtain of light. "Ha ha ha! Why would us four care about bugs like you lot?" as they scurry away. "But this time you dare to invade mystical heaven sect and came for the treasury. As the highest venerables in the sect, the four of us can't ignore this transgression." One elder smiled, making all of the four old guys change their signs they made. They finally moved, or more precise, their circle moved even though they never cracked an eyelid. Spinning around in a circle, the invisible circle formed felt more like a wide disk. It whooshed over the crowd, and the yellow dragon, looming overhead, spun with them. But the powerful force made by the constant spinning slammed into everyone in its path. No one had time to react as blood and gore flew every which way. The spinning yellow disc just went right through a group and mowed down thousands of people, reducing them to a bloody pulp. The disc made a return trip, and thousands more received the same gruesome death. In just one move, 10,000 people lay dead. Everyone was too shocked to react. Filled with fear as they watched the yellow disc, Luo Yunhai was also overwhelmed. Seeing the disc soak deadly as it reaped through his men's lives, his heart was panicking by the time he reacted. 30,000 men were gone from this world. He shouted, "Break formation! Everyone flee! We can't beat them! Save yourselves!" He gave the Flying Tiger Army a signal, and everyone scattered. Oh, the commander survived. One old man smiled, sending the disc straight for Luo Yunhai. This time, Luo Yunhai rushed to flee. Yuer and Kuei gang wanted to dodge, but had no way of reacting to ethereal stage expert speeds. In a blink, the disc was upon them. Feeling that raw fear its power sent, Kuei gang shook his head. "My poor life is now over. Just why did Master have to attack Mystical Heaven Sect? Is it really just to teach them a lesson? It looks to me that we're the one on the receiving end." Luo Yunhai did not speak, but his eyes were firm. Even he didn't know why Zhuo Fan wanted to do this, but since he planned for it, he would see it through to the end. This was the unflinching trust the Luo clan had for him. Even now, with death looming overhead, he still had no regrets. Whoosh. Suddenly, a familiar figure blocked Luo Yunhai's sight. It was no other than Yuer. "Miss, it's not use. It's not like before. Being in front or back won't make a difference." Yueker said nothing, just stood there unrelenting. Luo Yunhai decided to stand by her. Why not stand together? That way, maybe Brother Zhuo's other disciple might be able to come out alive behind us. "I'm Kuei Gang." Kuei Gang rolled his eyes and stood next to them. "Before we die, you should at least know my name." Master was too busy and had no time to make the introductions before. Dying without even knowing my name is such a miserable fate. "Then I'm Luo Yunhai, the Luo clan head." Luo Yunhai laughed. Yuer smiled. "Yuer, demon scheming sect disciple. Ha ha ha. Young lads, so close even before death. No wonder you're so amazing leading these kids." The elders from the circle overheard them and laughed. "But that still won't mean you're going to live. It's your fault for not being our disciples. Ha ha ha." Whoosh! The strong disc flew at them. Just an inch from turning them into a bloody smear on the ground, the trio closed their eyes, ready to meet their doom. However, the three found that nothing happened to them, even after a while. While the strong power was suddenly gone from their front, when they opened their eyes, they saw a white and black ball spinning in front. Not far from them, the sages had their hands locked in a sign and looking tense. Yin-yang reversal. In this critical moment, the heaven and earth twin sages intervened, using their domain soul to isolate the area around the four old guys. However, this action had made the two suffer for it. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.